Internet, hello and welcome to our coverage of the Platinum Capped final of GRLCS Season 14. I'm Alex H822, joined by Sean General Vici Walter Meyer here to bring this game between Pooty Tang and Reign of Kings to you. We're already in Champion Select. Pooty Tang on the blue side, banning away the Tristana, with Reign of Kings on the red side, banning out the Karma.
Yeah, and it is good to be getting into the finals of the final day of the spring split. As going along with the bans, Tristana's kind of been prio pick just because you can take it mid, you can take it bot. Technically can take it top though, less common. And then Karma's kind of annoying to deal with. She's been getting buffed from Riot. Hovering Malphite is gonna be ban Malphite, which I don't like banning Malphite. Especially that early draft, because I feel like there's so many counters to Malphite. Like he loses basically every single tank match up top. He loses to like Silas, some other fighters. So I see him more of as a counter pick, but I guess if you're good enough or just don't have access to a counter pick, then it can be a good ban.
Yeah, they might have been watching the semifinal from yesterday where they played the Malphite. Renji on Reign of Kings played that, and it seemed to be working out for him. So maybe just want to take away the comfort or the reliability of that pick, force them to try something else.
Yeah, it is good. Just always more tanks to choose from the pool. There are enough. Can always take Sign, who's better in blind lanes. Do see Gangplank from the other side, so lots of focus on top laner of Pututang Gang of Tulsa. And they do ban Scion, so they're basically looking at both things that Renji took yesterday, both engaged tanks and saying that he doesn't get to play them, force him on something maybe a bit less comfortable as we get to our last man, and then see what the Pututang Gang has priority on.
Yeah, the last band, the Scion, like you said, we'll see. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be another top laner? And if so, which one is it? Like, Pooty Tengang, I feel like, has a lot of power in their top lane, but it's actually going to be the Seraphine taken off the board.
Oh, and that's interesting. Personally, I find that like after all the changes in the Moonstone nerfs, I think that Seraphine's like B plus or A minus pick right now. Like, I don't think it's as strong as it was in the beginning. And we do see Vlad from PTG. That's something we saw a lot of in the series yesterday. Piloted in the mid lane by Histega and then taken away and just good champion overall. And Diana picked up with the Morgana, and that's interesting because both of those are kind of like the premier junglers of the patch, I would say. Kind
Yeah,
of took over in popularity. So picking them both, I guess there is still the flex option of Mork support and Diana mid. So it's not completely showing your hand, but it is still a bit different than what you usually see, which is to just take one of them as your jungler. I guess this does deny it from the other side. They don't get a jungler, though with AP already in Vlad, that does limit draft a bit more, and if you have double AP, as they do respond with Viego.
yeah, Viego going to be picked up for Pooty Tengang. That's presumably going to be in the jungle, right?
I think so. There are some matchups you can take at top. I kind of doubt it'll be mid because I think Vlad is strongest mid right now, and I don't think that you want to send Vlad top, but you can flex it. So I guess just keeping flexes open all over the board. You can take Viego mid, can take a top, can take Vlad mid or top, can take Viego jungle. Lulu, pretty much the only one I'd say we know for certain. Another very strong support this match that is picked up.
Then Reign of Kings, they still have to. Well, I guess they really haven't shown a whole lot. Like you said, there's the double flex. Diana could go mid, Morgana could go support, or either of them could go in the jungle. Caitlyn, for sure though, is going to be the lock-in for the mid lane of Reign of Kings. Now we're getting to the second rotation of bans. What are we expecting to see come out here?
I mean, probably just some hypercarry AD bans. You could get rid of Jinx, that pairs well with a Lulu, get rid of another hyperscaler you don't want to deal with. Do find the Caitlyn kind of interesting because you usually expect Caitlyn to be paired with the Morgana for a very aggressive, safe, push lane bot that you can get a bunch of tower plates from, get some kills if they get hit by binding. So they're kind of indicating that they want to send Morgana in that support role, and it is Diana jungle instead of leaving the flex completely open. Still could flex it, still could take Caitlyn with a different support, as we do start to see some hyper carries banned out with the Kaisa away, and then PTG is continuing their strategy of allowing no tank tops for not top main Renji by banning out the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, taking away those kind of reliable top lane Like you can be effective on those champions without necessarily just like hard stomping your lane. Um, Udyr is going to be the ban away by Reign of Kings, which is kind of interesting because you assume that this is going to be Viego jungle, right? I don't think it's like Viego top is crazy or anything like that. Not like high priority.
Yeah, in certain matchups it can be, but there are definitely a lot more that it does have trouble with. I mean, Udyr is also interesting because it's fallen off a lot in Jungle Prio. A couple patches ago, it was the king of the jungle with Hecarim. They nerfed it a bunch of times, and now, especially with Ken Tank on top, so it's not as strong. Could be annoying with Lulu, though you also have a Morgana to stop him from doing his run stun job done. Instead, he runs, attempts to stun, and then job not done. As we do see a Wukong locked in for what I assume is top lane. And because they banned the Udyr instead of another hybrid carry, it does look like we're going to see Jinx Lulu paired with the Vlad for some very, very scary late game.
Wow. I'm real like you said, I'm pretty surprised to see Caitlyn as the lock-in. It does pair well with the Morgana, but there's so many other AD carries that were available at the time that was locked in. The Kai'Sa was banned away by Reign of Kings after the fact, and then the Jinx was picked afterwards as well. So some interesting priority use there for or priority for Reign of Kings for that bot lane. Uh, I don't know. The Ornn is going to be locked in as an answer in the top lane for Pooty Tang against the Wukong. I like Wukong a lot, actually. I think it's quite good.
Yeah, I think Wukong is a very scary champion for people who know how to take it. At level 6, you actually have some pretty insane kill threat from all ranges with just the amount of Q resets you can get off, chunk someone basically from full. Ornn's okay into it, as Ornn is into most matchups, because you can just farm with Q. If they engage on you, you get to dash away, or trade back with just a W for a lot of brittle damage. And it does look like both team comps are rounded out with the Vel'Koz picked up for Reign of Kings, and that opens up some fun possibilities because top laner Renji is a very, very well-known Vel'Koz player, and he is very, very good at the champ, so we might be seeing him swap mid lane to take the Vel'Koz and leave the mid laner on Wukong going top lane to go into the Ornn, and that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. Uh, well, so this basically confirms Diana jungle Morgana support like you predicted with the Caitlyn lock-in. Which team comp looks better just overall in terms of champions?
I can't say that one over the other looks better, because on Pooty Tang Gang's side, you have Vlad, Lulu, Jinx, Ornn, which means that you are incredibly, incredibly good at team fighting as you get into the late game. But it's not like Reign of Kings are devoid of tools either. I mean, you've got Vel'Koz, Caitlyn, Morgana, which is incredibly hard to run into. You've got Wukong Diana backed up by Vel'Koz, Caitlyn for some really good, like CC Wombo potential and damage. Good pick as well if you want to look for it. So it kind of just is going to be execution, I think. Though I do think Pooty has the easier late game team fighting to do. Early game wise, Reign of Kings do have lane prio though in all three, I believe. Maybe Ornn can get prio into Wukong, but I think for the other, especially in mid and bot, Reign of Kings are going to have as much as they want, and Diana's a pretty good aggressive early jungler. So I think they definitely have that going for them.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Reign of Kings, they want their Wukong and their Diana to just somehow get into the back line, and well, I don't know. They don't even really have that much of a backline. It's just Jinx, right? So Wukong wants to go in, just knock up as many people as he can, and then everyone. It's kind of just all everyone man for himself, right? You just do as much damage to anyone you can, I guess, on the side of Reign of
Yeah,
Kings.
yeah, they do have some good one-shot potential. I mean, you can also go in on Viego because he's a pretty squishy champ. All things considered, you usually build him crit and go for damage so he can get resets. And it is going to be hard for Jinx to play these, and if Vlad dies in alone, you can sit on top of him with Wukong. So for the like knock up Vel'Koz combo, because there is a lot of CC and damage, or even if you get hit by random binding that's followed up by Vel'Koz into Caitlyn damage. If you get low enough, then they can force on you. So yeah, I mean they do have a lot of tools for Reign of Kings, and like even if you don't have a really big backline to dive, there is still something to dive. Where if they're not peeled properly, you can get a couple of quick pickups with the Diana Wukong damage. But of course, it is still strong late game from Pooty Tang that is probably easier to execute on the whole, with just letting Jinx Lulu sit back and hit. Ornn gets to front line and Vlad looks for a flank. Viego possible resets. So it'll be kind of fun seeing the interactions.
All right. We are just waiting for the 3-minute delay to run out. Well, actually, the 3-minute delay hasn't even started yet because we just finished Champion Select. Finishing that up in the client. Yeah. All right. So as a top laner, which would you rather be playing as the Wukong for Reign of Kings, like, or would you rather like who has it easier? Renji on the Wukong, or not Renji on the Wukong, Hastega on the Wukong, or Tulsa on the Ornn? Like whose job is easier?
I would probably give the Wukong the easier job, just because it's Ornn, yes, you can throw it in ult, but you're up against a Morgana, so it's not like you get super high value as long as the Kayn and Vel'Koz aren't on top of each other. You're also the one who's forced to walk forward in your comp into the Vel'Koz damage, into Morgana binding with Caitlyn trapped to back it up. So you kind of have to approach a top fight more carefully as the Ornn, whereas Wukong, like, there's an Ornn that you have to get through, but if you can get past him, you have complete and unfettered access to the back line of pretty much whoever you want. And like, Viego can burst you, sure, and Wukong, Lulu might be able to polymorph you, but if there's a Diana as well, having to split targets isn't as much fun, and Wukong can be pretty slippery in how he impacts it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in this particular situation, both top laners are kind of the they're the primary engage for their teams. Tulsa has to find a good way to get in with the Call of the Forge God, which he has the range advantage to do. But if he doesn't get a good one off, then that's kind of a lot of freedom for Hastega on the Wukong to look for his way in and just get as many people knocked up as possible, and then uh, bring the chaos that Reign of Kings team comp kind of wants.
Yeah, and it's also a bit hard for Call of Forja just because you're a pretty big target as Ornn, and if you get bound, you can't actually reactivate it to send it back into the team. And if they're splitting properly, then there's a Black Shield to block whoever you want to force on, especially if Black Shield is maxed early, which I would recommend. And yeah, but it is still gonna be fun because, I mean, you do have Vlad as well to dive in. Bit less help, but you don't really need help diving as Vlad, even if it can be nice to get some of the pressure off you.
Yeah, and Tulsa, Hastega also has the option to uh, not allow for the second cast of Call of the Forge God for when he actually knocks the ram backwards by using his ultimate as well. It's kind of a dual purpose ultimate. If you engage with the first one, you can kind of hide off to the side using your decoy, and then come back in and get the second knock up onto the Ornn so that he can't throw the ram back at the rest of your team. Uh, there's that option as well. I think the Wukong has a lot of the uh, what is the word I'm looking for? A lot of the potential to just stop Ornn from doing a lot, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of onus on Wukong and what he can do in these team fights, because like how well he does, I think, has a lot of variance on how the team fights can go up. He could get on the back line, knock up Jinx and Lulu, let Diana come in, blow him up. He could interrupt the Call of Forge God, or he could go in, get polymorph to miss it, give Viego a free reset as is bursted, give Jinx a free reset, who then gets to go over the entire team. So there's just a lot of variance in what outcome will actually happen, which is always the best kind of games for me because it depends a lot on how the players actually play. As
Yeah.
we do finally get into game for our matchup of Pooty Tang Gang versus Reign of Kings. And on the blue side, as Pooty Tang Gang, we have Tulsa in the top lane with Ornn, Dr. Wildy taking Viego in the jungle, Tien with Vlad mid, and Plen and Dr. Siggy taking the Jinx Lulu bot.
Yeah, and on the red side, it is not Glacial Omen. It is Pooty Tang Gang, or sorry, it is Reign of Kings. Golly, Hastega playing on the Wukong. Don't be fooled. We'll swap that over. I loves Rachel in the jungle on Diana. In the mid lane, it's Renji on Vel'Koz, and in the bottom lane, it's Just Do It on Caitlyn and Randy Newman on Morgana.
And we do see a 5-point stack from both teams, though a little bit of a double stack, just in case someone gets a bit too close to the big push. Could also actually kill the ward. With this setup, a lot of junglers will place the ward and then back for a sweeper. It just hit there, but Viego backed a bit too early to get that ward kill, which would have been nice. As the rest of the 5-point is going back, and we'll notice that Viego is going top side, Diana's going towards bot, so we will see opposite side jungle starts for the team.
Yeah, I think so. Renji should almost 100% have prio in this lane, right? Just continuously shoving in on the Vladimir. Not a whole lot Vladimir can do in the early stages of the game to contest the wave, right?
Yeah, once Vel'Koz starts getting cooldowns, Vlad has a lot of trouble. Like, you can walk up, you're walking up through the E knockback and through the plasma fission of Q, and like, you dodge both of those, then you're gonna QE him for a little bit of damage. He also went Phase Rush instead of Electrocute, which I think is better on mid Vel'Koz or mid Vlad, because you actually have some very, very good all-in potential. You might be able to have a bit more prio as Vlad if you do what I've talked about before, and you go a couple points Q and then start maxing E for mid lane for the better wave push. But early game especially is Vel'Koz, and even then, once it gets later, Vel'Koz has easier wave clear because Vlad can't really approach the lane if Vel'Koz is willing to guard it with his very spammable cooldowns.
So Randy Newman has actually opted for Dark Harvest on the Morgana rather than what I think is more common with the Guardian when you're playing the support Morgana. Do you think that this means anything, or is it just like a slight change in playstyle, or will it basically have no impact after a certain point?
I think it's a misclick, or at least I hope it's a misclick, because I definitely think that Dark Harvest is not great on Morgana. Like, maybe it's okay to get a couple stacks, but if you're a support, you're going more defensive items, or at least I don't think you need to do damage when you already have Vel'Koz, Caitlyn, and the rest of your team comp. Maybe you go into heavier AP and just look for binding one-shots / chunks, in which case Dark Harvest is maybe okay, but I do think Guardian is a very, very good rune to have, and I don't particularly agree with going the Dark Harvest, even if it will give you like more aggressive options later. Just don't really think it's worth it.
Yeah, plus like, well, I mean, Morgana support is still going to be building things like Zanya's Hourglass just because that's such a good item on her. As far as her mythic item, do you think we'll see something like Leandry's or Everfrost, or do you think that it's better to just try and get some added utility for your team, like with Shirelia's?
I think especially with Wukong Diana on your team, whose engage is very run at them, you want to go with Shirelia's. It's also good to scatter from potential Vlad engage, as he's also running at you, and you can use the move speed to back away from him. So I would like to see something like Shirelia's. Zanya's, of course, always good on support Morg. But I think you've got the damage covered, and especially against a team where you are going to be getting nuked in the late game, you want to have something to try and keep your team alive.
Yeah, Dr. Wildly going for the invade onto the enemy Gromp. It was spotted out, but I Loves Rachel is appropriately trying to counter jungle on the enemy blue side while this is all happening. Both of these junglers just doing the vertical jungle, looks like.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat to see this, I guess, pseudo-vertical jungling, because both junglers started on opposite sides.
Yeah, actually, it's like diagonal jungling, right?
Yeah.
Like, they crossed each other.
Yeah, they started on opposite sides, took the buff, and then pretty much walked to the other side of the jungle, and then into the enemy jungle. So, yeah, I guess pseudo jungling, as we do see Renji getting a ton of damage mid. Like, this is why I talked about his Vel'Koz. He is very, very practiced and good on the champion. We've seen him hit a lot of stuff, like even Q through the minions. I saw one that looked bogus that Tien got hit by it. So we're seeing the pressure that can come out in the matchup. Tien's very low, used his pull, so he'll have to be very careful about sticking around, especially Diana might actually look for a dive, and I would love if they did this.
Yeah, I think Pool should be back up right now. The Plasma Fission, oh, he does have to use it, but he's actually just going to die to Scorch, it looked like. off of that plasma fission that did land from Renji. So essentially a solo kill, just some moral support from I Loves Rachel on that one, and Reign of Kings 1-0.
Yeah, you absolutely love to see it. It's very good binding. Now Siggy Wiggy's at half, and this is why you don't like playing into Kate Mord, because you land a binding, you get chunked for either half or all of your HP bar, depending on if Kate can get traps down. And they are doing a good job of keeping up against CS. Haven't lost any plates either, and especially when Kate's going fleet footwork and Jinx has Conquer, one of those is a lot better in lane than the other one, especially when you're the one getting poked out. So good job by PTG's bot lane. Do have to go back mid though, where it's now 1-0 on the kill board, with Renji's basic solo kill from Tien just staying a bit too long when he was getting hit by so many abilities. And that's a very good start to get the Vlad behind and a Vel'Koz ahead when you don't have anyone to really get on top of him.
I have to say, I'm not a big fan of. Well, Jinx is a little bit less debate, or a little bit more debatable, but I really am not a big fan of the fleet footwork option for Just Do It when lethal tempo I think might have been a better option. It's not like you're struggling to keep up in lane as Caitlyn Morgana, so I think lethal tempo would have just been overall better in this particular situation.
Yeah, I tend to agree, especially when you're up against an Ornn who's going to be eating a lot of damage. You want to burn through him as quickly as possible.
Oh, here
Guess
we
it
go.
does
I
help
Loves Rachel going for aggressive
Vlad,
invade, gets
yep.
called, the Forge God comes out, Tien goes in, tries to steal away the blue buff, doesn't get it, but I Loves Rachel will die to the Hemo Plague, so he'll get the blue buff at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's something we actually saw yesterday as well. I Loves Rachel loves going in and invading, even when the team isn't in position to help. I mean, Vlad was able to roam over, Ornn was able to come down, the rest of the laners for Diana were not in any sort of position to help, and so gives over a free kill, gets Vlad back in the game after all Renji's work to keep him out. And yeah, that's just a greedy invade that you can't really afford to be doing in the finals of any finals, I guess.
Alright, Hastega going to continuously try and trade aggressively with Tulsa. Tulsa just turns around and breathes on him. Even when he doesn't get the brittle proc off of the auto attack, seems like he's winning out on these trades. The Bramble Vest and base damages are so good. Dr. Wildy flashes, trades his flash for Renji's. Renji still gets ulted on and now has to retreat towards his tower. He does trade his flash away.
And that was actually a very good flash from Renji. Reacted just as Dr. Wildy went in for the flash stun. If he hit that, it would have been very close. Barrier was still up for Vel'Koz, so I don't know if he would have died to it, but either way, good to avoid the damage as best he can. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of, Ornn mid-game is pretty ridiculous. He can chunk you for half with just QW auto, and that's why we see Wukong kind of falling behind, especially because he isn't going for something like the Divine Sunderer. He is going towards Triforce, I believe, possibly Stridebreaker. Either of those items, I think, can be taken by Wukong just because of how silly Stridebreaker is. But yeah, so
Wukong has a lot of options there. The Triforce did get changed though, so maybe that's something that Wukong is a little bit more likely to go. The Black Shield has been used on Just Do It. Piltover Peacemaker doesn't connect, and Plen and Dr. Siggy we actually trade quite nicely there.
Yeah, as we've talked about a bit, they have been doing quite a good job in the bot lane to stay even. Did finally get a couple of plates for the Caitlyn, so at least able to accomplish that part. As we do see pretty even gold. Top lane CS gap is a bit concerning. Diana is coming up to, I think, help push in. I don't see Ornn ever getting killed in any universe here, so instead, yeah, they're just going to put it in the wave. Help it bounce, look for a reset. Probably for the Wukong, as there's no dash on Ornn, so this will be a bit more damage. But
yeah, they're really trying to make sure that this doesn't get frozen here, but Tien and Dr. Wildy are both on their way up here. The Call of the Forge God has been issued. They're going to look for the knock-up onto the Diana. They don't land the Tides of Blood. There's the exhaust being thrown down onto Diana, the Cyclone, and the ultimate. Tien just goes down instantly! They do get a double kill for the Wukong as Dr. Wildy gets one back in his favor. He's going to steal the Diana abilities. Hastega jumps back in. Dr. Wildy takes a couple tower shots at the end of the day. It's 2 for 1 up there. Super Mega Death Rocket
Jinx Rocket
going the way of Hastega, and he knows he's going to back away here.
Ooh, yeah, that was a very interesting fight top. We saw them actually try and push in the wave to get it to crash. Didn't want it frozen, but then like they never fully crashed it in. They backed off of it, then came back to crash it. But even when the wave was bouncing back, they would use abilities. That left them there long enough for PTG to roam up 3 people, try and counter. But a very, very good layering of CC with the Wukong and Diana combos. That's a very
Randy
aggressive.
Newman flashes for a dark binding, and it actually just dies instantly as Renji teleported behind. But Plen is going aggressive. The tectonic disruption and the life form disintegration ray go down. But there's an exhaust onto Renji. He's taking a lot of damage. Summoner Hill comes out. Barrier. Plen is gonna get another kill. He dies to a headshot, and a double kill goes over to the Jinx. That was really quite good for the bottom lane of Pooty tanking, I have to say.
Yeah, I don't know what Randy Newman was doing there. Flash is in at no health. I think he was looking for the flash ult, but never even got it off. Maybe wasn't leveled up high enough. Maybe just made a big mistake. And then that kind of just takes the wind out of the sails for Renji's flank. Flashed away from the laser. He was now in the middle of a minion wave, plus the enemy hitting him. Caitlyn chunked low and forced to back off, so she couldn't contribute DPS. So I like the idea. TP behind, maybe grab a couple of kills. Execution was pretty rough though, and you do not want to be getting a Jinx ahead in a lane where you were wanting to shutter behind.
Yeah, where you're, especially one like this, like where you're supposed to win. Caitlyn Morgana, the Jinx is going to scale really well, as will the Lulu in conjunction with that, multiplying her power. Tectonic Disruption going to land on the Tien. Thankfully, the Life Form Disintegration Ray not available, and of course he does have the Sanguine Pool. But yeah, Randy Newman flashing in. The fight started with Plen getting excited, so not gonna go well for the side of Reign of Kings there. Randy Newman gonna be hiding out here with Ilos Rachel. Dark Binding gonna go straight down the middle. Dr. Siggy Wiggy trying to disengage with the Glitter Lances. Reign of Kings gonna bully their way back into the Dragon Pit area and will be pushed back as Dr. Wildy makes his presence known. Dark Binding gonna go wide. Plasma Fission is actually going to connect onto Dr. Wildy. Ilos Rachel does land a Q. Dr. Wildy tries to run away using his ultimate. Now Plen moving forward. The Black Shield is onto Ilos Rachel. Tectonic Disruption flashed away by Dr. Sigby. His Life Form Disintegration Ray comes out. Tien going to get caught by a trap. He's going to go into the Sanguine Pool as the Call of the Fortune God comes in from Tulsa off a teleport. They're going to kill off Renji. They got Randy Newman as well. Ilos Rachel jumped on here. Supermarket of the Market connects on a Just Do It. Triple kill. Quadra kill make it for the Jinx.
Oh my goodness. That was a huge, huge disaster for Reign of Kings. They come into the fight, try and turn, but couldn't quite lock anyone down. I think that they needed to either be more forceful or back away a bit more, because Ornn and Vlad were able to show up way, way before Wukong had time to walk down from top. And going in like that, able to get caught by the Ornn, reset starting in from Jinx. She got excited and ran everyone else down. And now the Jinx with Moonstone Lulu backing her up is going to be 6-1 going into the game. And we were talking about like having the ability to get onto Jinx. I think once she's fed enough, you're just the ones giving her a reset instead of shutting her down.
Yeah, you jump on her and, you know, fine, I'm just change my target focus onto you. Gale Force back away, continue autoing. You're gonna be doing a ton of damage as a 6-1 Jinx with Mythic item this early on. Ilos Rachel has picked up a Gnasher's Tooth, so doesn't quite have the Mythic yet. We'll be building that second, presumably the Night Harvester. Maybe it's the Rocket Belt. I think I see Night Harvester more frequently, but
Yeah, I think Night Harvester is the better item from Diana. Your range is usually big enough for you to make it in anyway, even if without the speed boost. And I also want to talk about top lane build, because it looked like he was going towards Triforce. Now he's switching over into what looks like Sunderer, so that's interesting. And we do see Viego coming up, and that's a bad time to go in for Hastega.
yeah, Hastega needs to back away now. He's actually not gonna get knocked up. A nice little use of the Cyclone there, and he's gonna die anyway, but he'll make him work for it a little, I guess.
Yeah, I just didn't have track of the enemy jungler, as might be Renji going down
wow,
as
Tien
well.
just walks in, Hemoplague thrown down. Renji gonna use the barrier to block the second proc of it, but Tien flashes forward, gets the Tides of Blood and the transfusion to get the kill onto Renji, soloed out.
Ooh, that is rough for Reign of Kings. They had already fallen behind. Now we're just seeing solo deads in the solo lanes. Hastega, like, you can't go in when you can't see the jungler like that. It's not like you have any kill threat onto the Ornn at this point with Wukong. You don't even have your Mythic done. So he gives overkill. Then in mid lane, Renji just kind of walks up to a Vlad with full power transfusion and dies for it. Flash back in, kind of had to expect that to happen. And that is a very, very rough thing to have happen when you're already 4.5k down. You need to not be showing any more bleeding against a very good late game scaling team comp. And at 15 minutes, this game's getting quickly out of control.
Dr. Weldy starting up on the Rift Herald. He can kind of do whatever he wants right now. His solo lanes have so much priority with Tulsa kind of just standing on Hastega and, you know, taking whatever he has to deal with him and autoing him. He kind of almost kills himself on Sunfire and Bramblevest already. Renji's on his way up to try and contest this one. Tien is not in any way moving towards it, but the Rift Herald already secured for Dr. Wildy.
And as we see things kind of settle down, we are at a point in the game where it's really, really hard for Reign of Kings to find anything. They do start to have first item completions, but the enemy is way ahead of them. PTG already has 1.5 items on their Ornn, on their Vlad, on their Jinx. These are all much better champions to have items on than Reign of Kings. Caitlyn kind of has a mid-game dip. Vel'Koz will be very effective, and he might be able to solo carry fights if he has a laser, but Diana without the Net Harvester, instead going for the Nashers, it makes her a better duelist against the Viego, but it makes her worse at AoE womboing team fights, and Wukong still doesn't have his mythic done. So it's hard to fight right now, but you also kind of need to fight to not give over everything to the enemy team, as we're already seeing Ornn get in position for invade, stealing camps away from Diana. And Reign of Kings want to try and do something bot side, but I already see Viego shifting and TPs are up.
Yeah, a lot of vision in that try area for the side of Pooty Tang gang. They know exactly what Reign of Kings is trying to do. They're getting ready to make sure that they can't do it. Tien gonna get caught by the tectonic disruption there, but he'll be able to sustain himself back up. Oh wait, maybe hold on. There's 3 members coming in here. I Loves Rachel and as well as Randy Newman off the side, but he's nice and safely under his tower. Plasma Fission is going to connect, and it's not going to mean anything. They don't have a minion wave ready to push in on that tower, even with their numbers advantage. So I don't know. Reign of Kings kind of floundering right now.
Yeah, at the very least, they aren't losing much right now. Kind of just even farm trade, which is good for them. We do see the Divine Sunder done on Wukong, so he did switch over to that after wanting to initially go Trinity Force. And yeah, you are saying Vel'Koz can get poke on Vlad. It's just that it doesn't matter as much once he gets his transfusion level 9. Now we're in a rough spot because it's 2 dragons already for Pooty Tang gang. You don't want to give over the soul point and have a worse fight later, but it's very hard to contest.
Gonna get knocked up by the Brother Proc. The Black Shield comes out, Summoner heal. Ilos Rachel goes back in. Here's the call of the Forge God. They're gonna try and disrupt it, but there's the Life Form Disintegration Ray. They will trade the Ornn for the Diana, but in the back line, it's Hastega with the Cyclone. Viego uses the ultimate to try and get out of there. Hastega flashes forward for another knockup, and Dr. Siggy Wiggy will go down to the Soul Shackles, but Tien in the back line has thrown another Hemo Plague. Renji flashes away, gets a Tectonic Disruption to push him back away. It's 2 for 2 so far.
Yeah, 2 for 3 might be more. No pool on
Tien. He'll get the shutdown as Plen now comes around with the Jinx rockets. Zap is going to go wide. Hastega does have the Blast Cone. Does he want to take this one? He's going to back away now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very good fight for Reign of Kings. They managed to get the Ornn down immediately. He couldn't get an ult off between the bindings and the CC. Wukong got to the back line. Unfortunately, though, they ended up going advantage of the fight. Jinx the only one left, 3 versus 1, but their HP bars meant they couldn't contest. So Jinx is still going to be on Dragon. Okay, Hastega, I liked his decision to stay. He's going to be able to force off, potentially get this Dragon. We'll come for a steal, maybe wait for the teams to come back.
Yeah,
now Jinx is the one without resets, but Wukong is low, and we're going to see another fight. Good, okay. Reign of Kings were able to pick it up in time. Now, what are you doing, Randy?
Randy Newman is just like walking the wrong direction. Why take that path? Your entire team went the other way. Now Isla's Rachel gonna get caught trying to do the blue buff. Tulsa's just gonna come around, get that knockup off of the charge. There's a brittle proc as well. Isla's Rachel will get the blue buff as a consolation prize, but Tien is just gonna take it back for himself. Whoa, maybe not. Dashes over to the Gromp. There's some nice moves. Call of the Forge God is gonna be used to get the slow, get the knockup, and it's gonna be Tien with the blue buff.
That's a tilter right there for me watching, because you had such a good fight for Reign of Kings. You got the dragon, you stopped the soul point, you managed to like claw your way back in a game where you were about 5k down for it, and then you just kind of hand over 2 kills for free. Like Randy Newman walking into the enemy team, don't know, I guess just auto-pathing, wasn't paying attention to where he was going, and then sticking around for blue when you knew enemy team was right there. Just greedy play, giving up 2 free des. is still good for them, though. They stopped the Soul Point. They managed to get some good shutdowns on their carries. Very strong for Wukong now. He got a lot of the benefits. Your Caitlyn is also at a decent point. So there are still good things happening for Reign of Kings, but they've got to clean up some of these silly mistakes that are costing them.
Yeah, Hastega really not doing super great in these extended trades against Tien. I think if he actually has the opportunity to all in, he might actually just win. Divine Sunderer doesn't have a lot of magic resist in his build, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think there's a potential for Wukong, but you do have to be careful because you do have the Sunder instead of the Triforce. Makes you a bit worse at Vlad, or at fighting Vlad, and if you mess up, he can turn it on you with his extra sustain. I think if you blow Phase Rush and don't take much is when you look for the opportunity to go in, just so he can't run away with Pool and then sustain back up because you can't take too many free trades. But should at least be able to hold on against the Vlad as we do start to see some posturing for Vision. Caitlyn holding solo versus Ornn isn't the ideal lane setup, I would say, as anyone else comes over and you get a free all-in. Ornn also, just the potential to kind of one-shot you. Stay too far up, even if he doesn't have much mana to do so. So she will be back in here. We'll see if they do send anyone down or just decide to give the tower as continue our kind of stalemate after the dragon fight.
Yeah, it's about 5,000 gold discrepancy between the two teams. Pooty Tang sitting pretty there. And again, they have the late game scaling in their favor, so it's not like they're feeling a lot of pressure to force fights or anything like that.
Yeah, especially without Reign of Kings able to do much pushing up. If they do stick their neck out too far, you just get to bite it off with engage options with the Ornn, because if you aren't in position for Reign of Kings, you can't get to Jinx. In any fight where you can't get to Jinx is just a lost one. So they're in a pretty good spot. We do see Reign of Kings getting some vision. They are still pressuring. They aren't sitting back at towers and letting Pooty do whatever they want. But the enemy is coming in, and we'll see if it manages to bite them.
Yeah, they're trying to get out the other side. Here, Tien comes in with Tides of Blood, doesn't land anybody the Black Shield onto Renji in the first place anyway. They're going to secure the Baron side Scuttle Crab for themselves and then move to try and get down some vision in the enemy red side as Reign of Kings are on the retreat. Ilo's Rachel going to throw out a Q, lands it onto him, and there we go. They get Dr. Wildy as he goes aggressive on the Reigning Human. The Soul Shackles and the stun going to come down. Life Form Disintegration Rate interrupted immediately by the Call of the Fort God. Ilo's Rachel gets exhausted as she goes in. The Cyclone knocks out 3 members on the other side, but there's a Flame Chompers as Plen is just continuing to free auto onto Hastegen as well. In the backside, Tien actually got a double kill somehow onto the backline as Renji did go down as well. And now that's going to be 3 members down for the side of Reign of Kings. Pooty Tang gang turn their attention onto the Baron.
And any fight where you don't get Jinx is a lost one. You also have to watch out for Vlad. A good initial pick on Dr. Wildy. They managed to get him to a sliver of HP, but then overdive. I Loves Rachel went the Duelist build. She doesn't have Night Harvester for a one-shot on the low target, so she goes in and dies for nothing. That meant that her backline was overextended, and Tien and Tulsa were able to just hit them where it hurt. No one really can kill the Ornn if you're running from a Vlad at the same time. A decent job by Hastega in the backline, picks up 1 kill, but just him alone isn't able to do enough damage to get everyone down between the Lulu and just the natural healing the enemy come. And so they saw a pick opportunity, tried to go for it, didn't work, and now it's Baron and a 7k gold lead for Pooty Tang gang.
Oh, good zap will spot him out. Just do it. Actually, the one who gets slowed. Hemoplate goes down after the flash from Tien, and it's going to force them all to flash away. Dr. Wildy comes in. Call of the Forge God goes out. And no kills going that way yet. I Loves Rachel just sneaking around. Is going to go in with the Q. The ultimate comes down. He's going to jump on him, Dr. Wildy, but he lives thanks to the wild growth and the shields. Hastega comes in the backside, goes for the Cyclone, but he doesn't do a ton of damage, and he's just going to go down. A double kill goes over to Plen. 2 kills for free over to the side of Pooty Tang gang.
Reign of Kings really just need to stop overreaching for these. You had the enemy blow their engage, you had Flash Vladel, you had Ornn ult, Viego got chunked pretty low, he had to flash out. Your carries were left that at very low HP, but they lived. And then afterwards, we just saw I Loves Rachel and Hastega when the fight was already over, when the carries were not able to come anywhere close. Going into the backline for a random kill against the Lulu, and just dying for it, giving over 2 free kills and a dragon they were going to lose anyway. And so Gold League's extended. They're now able to start picking up towers, and Pooty Tang Gang continue to have a stranglehold on this game.
Pick up those couple towers, take a recall with the Baron empowered, spend some well-earned gold. Tien gonna pick up that, what is it, Blighting Jewel? Yeah, for the half magic penetration that you get normally from Void Staff. A lot of power has just been picked up for Pooty Tang Gang, and they were already kind of winning these fights, so I don't know. I don't see a way for Reign of Kings to come back in unless Pooty Tang Gang just really starts messing up these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, you do still have a few options. You have the Vel'Koz, you have the Caitlyn. Wukong's done a decent job in the back line. You're up against Infinity Edge Jinx. With that done, you're up against Deathcap, almost Void Vlad, and now your Diana's getting picked off.
Right into Dr. Wildy. He's gonna get his ultimate off. The Cyclone is too late to save him. The Black Shield onto Hestega, but he just gets taken out by the Super Mega Death Rocket. Called the Forge God. Reigning Human doesn't have the Black Shield, but he does have the Zanya's Hourglass to keep him alive for a little bit longer, but not that much longer, as Dr. Wildy will finish him off. And in the backline, it's Hemo Plague. Tien is just gonna try and assassinate the backline by himself, and it looks like he will be successful. Double kill for the Vladimir, and that's the ace for Pooty Tang Gang.
Now, at this point, just too far behind from Reign of Kings. Enemy carries you too far ahead. You've got Ornn itemed, Infinity Edge Jinx, Deathcap Vlad as well, and your carries just can't do as much. You don't have nearly as strong of a front line. Your time to do well was in the earlier part of the game where the enemy wasn't fully tanked up, when they didn't just one-shot all of your champions, but they weren't able to do it. They fell too far behind. You have your 0-8 Diana gonna be blown up, can't one-shot anyone. Wukong can't do it alone, especially with Wit's End as his build path. And yeah, that's just kind of how I feel like it's gonna go from now. You can't stop Vlad, no reliable lockdown. He's able to just delete your backline, who can't output near enough damage to deal with Lulu and Ornn. And yeah, that just puts him in a really rough spot this game as Baron comes up in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, now 12,000 gold is what separates these two teams. One inhibitor down in the mid lane. So Reign of Kings, maybe they look to that and say, hey, we've got guaranteed minion waves coming to us at all times. But you're gonna have to deal with Soul Point coming up in a couple minutes, and maybe it just Pooty Tang Gang running down the mid lane at you.
Yeah, I mean, Vlad's hit 3 items, and there's actually no one on the enemy team who wants to even be on the same screen as him. And with no way to lock him down with Pool, you're just kind of waiting for your backline to get blown up. So that's kind of rough. Soul is also an option in 1.5 minutes, and Cloud Soul Vlad is even nastier. Jinx can also kind of use it. So, I mean, you're glad it's not Infernal. You're glad it's not Ocean as well for an Ornn Lulu comp to sustain with, but yeah, I don't know, it's just rough. They're gonna try and probably set up a defensive line, which you can do with Kate Traps. Maybe look for a Morgue Binding, go in, blow someone up, and hope that you don't overextend too much in return. But very rough position this game, and Isla's Rachel's going in.
Try and get onto Tien. The Black Shield has been used, and now Hestega just looking for a little bit of free damage onto Tulsa. The Decoy has been used, however, and Dr. Wildy's just putting down a lot of damage onto him, as well as the Cyclone. Hestega just dies on the first proc of it. Life Run Disintegration Ray comes out, call the Force Gun as a double kill goes the way of Plen. There's the Ram thrown out, and they're just gonna flash into the enemy base as Reigning Human throws on the Soul Shackles, goes golden, gets the stun, instantly dies afterwards. Double kill goes over to Dr. Wildy. The Zap gonna connect. Ace for Pooty Tang Gang for nothing.
Yeah, and that is going to be game 1, going over to Pooty Tang Gang in the finals, able to take down Reigning Kings with just, I think it was that one fight over at Dragon where Reigning Kings went it a bit too soon. I think that they couldn't quite team fight the way they needed to be able to win it. They had early pressure, couldn't get anything bot lane with the Kate Morgue. Even with their early pressure mid, weren't able to transition it. So just Pooty Tang Gang able to make use of their easier comp, able to execute it, their scaling properly, get to the late game, start winning out hard. And we'll see what adjustments Reign of Kings or even Pooty Tang Gang have in the coming up game as we look towards game 2 of the series.
Yeah, I really think Random Kings, with those teams that they were drafted, they really had to win early. But yeah, like you said, we're gonna take a short break before we get into game number 2 between these two teams. Will Pooty Tang Gang take it 2-0, or will Random Kings equalize it and push us to game 3? We'll see you in just a few minutes. Internet, hello and welcome back to our coverage of GRLCS Season 14 Platinum Capped Finals and our final series of the day. This could be the final, or it could be the penultimate game of the split. Reign of Kings versus Pooty Tang Gang. Pooty Tang Gang with a 1-game lead. Reign of Kings opted to start on the blue side of this game. They're going to go ahead and keep their bans very similar, though, banning out Tulsa with the Karma and the Gangplank bans. On the other side, Pooty Tang Gang taking away Tristana and Seraphine.
Yeah, and we do see Reign of Kings ban Vlad as well. I think that's a good adaptation because Vlad is just a very scary champion when you can't deal with it early. Scales very well, hard to lock him down, and Tien was piloting it very well as it got later. As we do see Malphite, so same bans as last time pretty much. Does leave, I believe it was Scion was the last ban, as we do see a quick Morgana pickup for Reign of Kings. Took it last time too, you can flex it either jungle or support as Pooty Tang Gang are hovering the Viego. So as of now, no real changes in the drafts, as I guess Diana might be taken by Pooty Tang Gang. And will this be mid jungle, Viego top? Lots of options there.
Yeah, I don't think well, there's not enough information really to guess. I think these are champions that I could definitely see both of their players in those respective positions picking up. Reign of Kings now have to show something. They know we already have the Morgana locked in, but it might be flexed into the jungle with that Nautilus pickup for the support role. I don't think that you can really play top Nautilus. He's been changed quite significantly that in a way that pushes him very much towards the support role ever since that kind of became his meta role.
Yeah, and you talk about top Nautilus. I still remember Jungle Nautilus, the original role. That was way, way back, of course. Now, definitely is a support. They are taking Jinx with it. I like taking the Jinx away as well. It was a very effective hyper carry last game. You can pretty much just sit in front with it. No need to do anything special. You have Morgana to shield you and back you up as well, with some good pick potential at the start of fights to let her get excited. And we will see what Pooty Gang respond with before going into the second ban phase.
Yeah, I really much rather prefer that they pick the Jinx here rather than the Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn has her place in the game. She has her niche as a marksman, but I just don't think that she has enough potential. Like Caitlyn traps are basically all you get from Caitlyn as compared to Jinx, because Jinx has the increased range with the rockets in the first place. So I think Jinx is just in the majority of situations a better version of Caitlyn. Pooty Tang Gang gonna ban away the Scion, answered by the Ornn ban by Reign of Kings, and then they're gonna take away Echo. Reign of Kings has maybe they haven't locked in that ban yet. And then we didn't mention, but Alistair picked up for the support role on the side of Pooty Tang Gang.
Yeah, Alistair's good. You have Diana, Viego, Alistair now, so there's definitely a lot of engage from Pooty Tang Gang. They're wanting to go in and get kills. On the other side, Reign of Kings just want to peel from their Jinx at the moment with the comps, of course, with a lot to fill out. Ornn Van's good. I think he hard to move, and if you're going to be taking something like the Wukong Vel'Koz again, you want something that's a bit more vulnerable to be engaged on by the Wukong. Histega, of course, had a very good Echo game, which is the reason for that ban. Finally, Kaisa banned once again, as Pooty Tang Gang still don't have their ADC, and we'll see what they take here. I could see a few different options depending on what they want to pair with the Alistair, as that would
Oh,
be a fun one if they do go with the Vayne to go with their already aggressive comp, and I think that could end up turning out well as long as they don't fall too far behind on it.
yeah. However, with the Nautilus is one of the better champions at taking down Vayne. It's already been locked in, so they will swap it over to the Xayah instead. That's a little bit more what I expected to see out of Pooty Tang Gang. Marksman that's a little bit more self-sufficient, can self-peel and dodge away from all of the abilities with that Featherstorm, because it looks like Diana, Viego, and Alistair, they're gonna kind of, let her do her own thing. Cho'Gath going to be picked up in the top lane for Reign of Kings, and now they have to show their mid laner at this point.
Yeah, so it will be counterpick top lane, still waiting on Reign of Kings to lock in their mid laner, which is going to be Illusion, and I do think this is a good choice, just in terms of having AD when you already have full AP top side with Morgana Cho. You don't want to get only one damage type, because then you can just spec into MR runes and get an early, like, null magic or even just a Negatron cloak, and it'll cut a lot of damage from the top side. So Pooty Tang do have options into the Cho'Gath. There are a few things that do well into him, and it looks like it might be the Viego top with Diana jungle and Orianna mid. And I'm not totally familiar with the Viego Cho'Gath matchup, but I think that Viego would do very well in it with his sustain, with his very good all-in potential. So the Cho'Gath will have to play pretty far back, but we do have comps locked in now with both teams.
Yeah, isn't this like at the very not like hard counter, but like as far as lane phase goes, Pooty Tengen kind of counterpicked their own mid laner, picking the Orianna into the Lucian. Lucian has traditionally been the counter to these very cooldown heavy mages in the mid lane. And so picking the Orianna into it, you have to have a lot of confidence, or you have to feel very comfortable sitting back and letting yourself, because it's going to be a really rough laning phase, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, Lucian, not a lot of lane counters to him. He's just very, very abusive in a lot of matchups, has good damage, good potential. So it's not like there is so much counterpick as there are a lot of champions that you pick mid that Lucian counters. I do think that it doesn't fit with what I would want from the comp though, because there's no really good Orianna delivery ball. Alistair can be okay, but you're running Alistair through Nautilus, Morgana, Cho'Gath to try and get a Jinx Lucian, which can stay back at very far range, so that's not very reliable. Viego's definitely not. Viego's like the other option along with Diana, but it's just hard to get to the back line with that ball because your front line is so squishy, I guess I would call it. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
meat to it. Easily focused down, and especially when you're going into, again, a Morgana, Nautilus, Cho'Gath, who are all very, very good at seeing your approach path and just throwing CC in the way and keeping you locked down to get Jinx that reset. And there's no real good way to get on Jinx with the draft Pooty Tangang has set up.
Yeah, perhaps Pooty Tengang look for maybe they look for a more reactive shockwave, kind of bait some hard commit from Reign of Kings onto them, and then shockwave when they all group up and try and focus them down. But like you said, it's significantly less real and significantly less effective in general compared to something like Malphite Orianna or Jarvan Orianna in the good old days when Jarvan wasn't a terrible champion.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of a stylistic difference, I think, in Pretend Gang's comp, because you have Xayah Orianna, who Orianna either needs a really good ball delivery or she waits for you to come into her. Xayah really doesn't like going forward. She likes you to walk into her feather nest to be rooted and take a bunch of damage. And Reign of King's comp is perfectly glad to just sit back and hit you with longer range. They don't really want to be going into you unless they hit CC and get an easy pick, which isn't really the kind of go into you want to be dealing with. So like Viega and Diana, they might try and go in. Alistair will kind of have to follow him up, but then Zion Orianna aren't really able to go far forward if they want to follow up as well, or at least not easily. And Reign of Kings comp, I just think is a bit more synergistic and able to play together.
Yeah, that's kind of like the directional thing you're talking that you kind of alluded to that I like to talk about a lot. Xayah is a champion that would much rather be walking backwards when you're team fighting, whereas Pooty Gang they've picked up Diana, Viego, Alistair, who kind of are forced to move forward in team fights a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it's not like there are any tools for Tangang to make Reign of Kings walk into them. Because Reign of Kings, they can just sit back and throw bindings and zaps and ruptures at you. And if you get hit by one, you don't have anyone to really tank it other than kind of Alistair. And that's like you blow your ult on it, but you still can't reply because Morgana just shields your engaged target as long as you're staying properly in your battle lines behind Cho'Gath. So I just really think that Reign of Kings have a comp. Of course, lanes are a thing to consider early game. Cho'Gath will be beat by Viego 1v1 fairly handily, I would think. So that is a potential point of impact where he can get snowballing. Squishy Cho is can be engaged on, and then be able to pick him up and maybe like throw Rupture in the back line, keep chasing, and maybe that's a good win con.
Yeah, I don't know. Reign of King, like you were talking about, Reign of Kings, I think just has it much easier. You get hit by a Dark Binding, it's death. If you get hit by a Dredge Line, it's death. If you get hit by a Rupture, it probably means death. If you get hit by a Zap, you get slowed and probably get hit by something else. One of the aforementioned death abilities. Uh, so it looks quite difficult for Pooty Tang to execute, but maybe they pull off something like a five-sided pincer maneuver, and that just sort of messes up Reign of Kings. Definitely something that Viego and Diana would like to come in from like odd angles, you know?
Yeah, and that is always an option. Have them going from the flank. You can't turn onto Oriana Zaya because, as we talked about earlier, they like people going into them because it sets up their abilities really nicely. So have someone get around the flank. You can't really turn on the 3. You have to turn on them instead. Then the 3 might get to walk up and get your battle lines disrupted. Also, have to take into account just individual players. In the last game, Pooty Tang were better about setting up their fights properly. Reign of Kings had some moments of dissonance where a couple people were going in or just weren't prepared in the right way for a fight to break out. So that might be where they get broken open. We'll have to see as the game goes on, though.
Yeah. So you said it's a lot easier for Reign of Kings to execute on their comp, but do you think that Pooty Tang has the like assume nothing but the champions? Does Pooty Tang have like good enough tools that they could potentially just win out in team fights regardless? Like, is flanking like a good option for them, or is there something else that they should be trying to do?
I think it's a lot more about if Reign of Kings messes up their battle lines than any tricky things that Pooty Tang might pull off. I think as long as you aren't super far behind in gold, Reign of Kings have a way easier time. And even if Pooty Tang play it really well, I still think that a lot of it is on Reign of Kings to mess up just in a 5v5 team fight. Of course, that's not always everything. Side lanes, Diana is better than a Morgana. Viego will beat the Cho'Gath. Lucian, pretty good, but you do still have to be careful with him. So that might be an option as well with a potential 1-3-1 and then leave your 3-man who can't really be engaged on. You don't want to be running into Zaya, Oriana, Alistair, as we've mentioned a couple times now. So that might be an option, but team fights for sure are Reign of Kings favored, I think, like 95% of the time.
Yeah, that 5% is where Zaya gets silenced and then instantly dies before she can ult, and then everyone else just sort of gets hit by every other ability. um, yeah, I don't know. We're sitting on the 24 seconds of the spectator delay. As a reminder, Pooty Tang are currently up 1 game in this series. One more win for them will secure them the platinum capped championship of GRLCS season 14. On the other side, Reign of Kings, they'll need to win this one and then win a game 3 if they want to take that title.
Yeah,
Oh.
and we do finally hit the end of spectator delay. So we will get into the loading screen and then right into game for either last or second to last game of the finals for Platinum Division Spring 2021. And yeah, we'll see what happens from here.
Yeah, it's like we can be pretty frank about it. It's kind of hard to come up with more and more things to talk about, especially when you have to sit through champion select and 3 minutes of spectator delay. So apologies for any awkwardness there. Tien opting for the corrupting potion start. I'm talking about this. I don't know if they can see it at the same time as we can, but Tien opting for the corrupting potion start. So a little bit more sustain, expecting to get poked out by Hastega.
Yeah, and I do think that corrupting is a fairly decent option for mid lane if you want to get into early auto wars. Of course, early auto wars against an AD carry are typically not something you do, but Oriana can do it better than most with her passive auto damage. Meanwhile, Cole for Viego in the top lane is probably fine against Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath not the most early threat against a champion that has sustained themselves. If you are wanting to get early kills, it's more through poking out or getting like a really good long combo, but I think Viego wins those long trades a bit better. 6 is a bit more iffy because Cho'Gath ult will do 360-ish damage at level 6, so without the extra HP from something like a Doran's Blade, you do open yourself a bit more to being just absolutely one-shot.
Yep. And since this may be the last game of the split, we should go ahead and introduce these teams at the very least one last time. Reign of Kings on the blue side with Renji in the top lane on Cho'Gath, Ilos Rachel in the jungle on Morgana, Hastega in the mid lane on Lucian, and in the bottom lane it's Just Do It and Rainy Newman on Jinx and Nautilus.
Meanwhile, in the top lane for Red Team, which is Pooty Tang Gang, as I will introduce. It should be okay to introduce it still. Yeah, okay, no kill, just a really good early trade. On to Dr. Siggy for Pooty Tang Gang on the red team is Tulsa in the top lane with Viego, Dr. Wildy with Diana in the jungle, Tien taking Orianna mid with Plen, and Dr. Siggy Wiggy with Zaya Alistair bot.
Yeah, and we saw that you kind of interrupted yourself because you thought maybe there's something happening here, but Rainy Newman does just get an easy dredge line out of the Fog of War. Chunking down Dr. Siggy Wiggy and forcing him to eat through at least one potion, and as well as getting Reign of Kings bottom lane control of that wave.
Yeah, and meanwhile, it is a very nice pull.
Not going to get level 2, unfortunately. Just Do It wasn't quite able to finish off the minion wave in order to get them level 2 for a very good trade. Now, Hastega actually going to find Dr. Wildy trying to steal away a little bit of his jungle. Dr. Wildy did get the big raptor, but Tien actually takes quite a bit of punishment for trying to come up and help.
Yeah, I actually really like that move from Hastega. Just had the mid push, so go and screw around with Dr. Wildy in the jungle. You can see he got at least some of the little chickens because Diana was at 10 CS for a while. So yeah, very good early.
This Rainy Newman and
now
Just
more
Do It are actually also when Dr. Sigwy flashes for a 3-man knockup. In goes Diana. The Summoner Hill comes out. Ilos Rachel trying to run away. Dr. Weldy. It's gonna be first blood for Tien as he picks up the blue buff. Zap goes out. Dr. Weldy's gonna go in one more auto attack, and the red buff will finish off Rainy Newman. Just Do It flashing away as well. Hastega slowed up by the command dissonance. The Zap gonna go and slow up Plen. Hastega gonna turn it around and take down Plen as Tien flashes forward and picks up Just Do It. Now mid laner's on the run, but Tien is feeling a lot better about this. Hastega, no health, no mana. Tien does have the blue buff, has the clockwork wind up autos, and it's going to be a killing spree. 3 kills already for the Orianna.
Wow, that is a very fun start indeed. I like the thought of the early aggression behind Reign of Kings. Don't let them have any free time. Invade them in the jungle. Unfortunately, they just screwed up the execution. Really, really nice 3-man flash pull by Dr. Siggy Wiggy. Sets it up beautifully. Even though Lucian gets there first, the start of the fight just went a bit too poorly and ends up getting a very, 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 very scary Orianna in the early game. These are some odd allocations. They had Zaya go mid to make sure no waves died as Ori pushed out bot. I think that's a good choice as well. And yeah, that's not a great start for Reign of Kings. They do, of course, still have the better comp, I would say, so it's not the end of the world. And we'll see where it goes from here. They just do have to be a bit more careful in the future.
Yeah, and they're gonna have a little bit of a little bit more catching up to do than they would have otherwise. Like you said, going for that aggressive invade with both Just Do It and Rainy Newman supporting Ilos Rachel on that invade for once, right? Ilos Rachel normally getting just caught by himself on those invades, but they're really trying to shut down Dr. Wildy. But Dr. Siggy Wiggy, he's like, if you want to get down Dr. Wildy, you got to go through me first. And he goes and flash 3-man pulve, and that's just a 1 team fight for Pooty Tanging by quite a mile actually. Dr. Wildy now is even ahead in terms of farm and EXP compared to Ilos Rachel.
Yeah, one other thing to note though is that Renji is actually doing a pretty good top lane, about a wave up in CS. Thought it would be a bit Viego favored, but actually with still 2 corrupting pots, doing very well on the Cho'Gath, so maybe I just don't know the matchup well enough, or Renji's just playing it well, one of the two. As we do now see Morgana moving up, might actually be able to do it. I think Renji screwed up a bit on lane management, but now Tia Ulsa's going forward. So Morgana has an option, does lane the binding.
it's going to be an easy rupture into the silence, and Tulsa actually flashes away. It will be the flash auto attack from Renji, and Ilo's Rachel actually picks it up with that last auto attack onto Tulsa there. Meanwhile, Dr. Wildy has found Rainy Newman looking for an aggressive roam onto the mid lane, but now it's going to be a 2v2. Rainy Newman doesn't get the dredge line onto the wall to get out of there, and Dr. Wildy will just wait for his Q to come back up. Dr. Sigiwiki's here as well. Command Dissonance comes out. There's going to be a Riptide to try and slow it up. Dark Binding Goat lands onto Dr. Wildy, and now they might be able to extract him. No, Tien will get it with a Clockwork Wind Up auto attack and pick up the Rampage for himself.
And I mean, he tried to do a roam mid, didn't work out. Instead, face check the jungler, who is level 5 to level 3. Bot lane, we do see Jinx is actually pretty far ahead in CS, about 2 waves worth, essentially, which is a nice lead, but does end up losing the support with Randy Newman. That's a pretty big loss, as we do see a TP bot from Renji, and this will be a kill.
Len is going to get silenced up, slowed. Zap is going to go out. It doesn't matter. They're going to hand the kill over to Just Do It. That's some very proactive play by Reign of Kings and trying to get their AD carry ahead on this Jinx.
Yeah, I really, really like that TP. Tulsa had to TP back up top because Wave was pushing into tower after the kill. Wanted to not fall too far behind in CS. That leaves Renji able to get a back, immediately TP bot on that well-placed ward behind Plen. His support had gone up after Randy Newman did, so that just leaves him cut off. Very easy kill. Give it over to the Jinx as well. That leaves her very strong. Morgana catches top wave, so you don't miss any CS there. And yeah, just well done map movements by Reign of Kings to get this game within 1 kill of each other.
All right. So, after what looked like a bit of a disaster, Tien is still quite a bit ahead in terms of gold compared to Hastega, about 700 or so. They're doing a good job getting Just Do It ahead, and I think it's more important that your Jinx be strong.
Yeah, Jinx will definitely be able to do a lot in these fights. Renji, freezing top lane, which is always something I support. Leaves you less exposed to their jungler, leaves enemy more exposed to your jungler, or you if you manage to land a good enough combo, maybe deny some CS. So we'll see that happening up there as Jinx is coming back with a couple very strong items. You can see how far ahead she is of the Xayah Crit Cloak Moonquiver compared to just a couple of daggers as Renji continues to freeze, which isn't as punishing for Cho'Gath and might actually have a fight here.
Yeah, Tulsa actually takes a tower shot, and Feast comes down, but Dr. Wildy finishes the job, and Tulsa barely survives.
Ooh, yeah, just a bit miscalculated from Renji. Almost had the kill, but a very good unstoppable ult from Tulsa with the Viego. His ult is unstoppable, so got away from the rupture, and then just barely not enough damage to finish off with the Feast. I think probably like almost sub 10 HP. I would say on it, yeah, and that's a pretty big loss there, as you do give Dr. Wildy a kill, 2 plates to the top and jungler in a window where Viego will outscale you in the 1v1, so you have to take the kills where you can. That puts him now behind in CS where he was a little bit ahead before, and so pretty rough. Not the end of the world, of course, because you do have the better scaling comp and more tools to go with, so...
Both junglers kind of revealing themselves. Dr. Wildy on that control ward and Ilo's Rachel in the mid lane. I think they know that Ilo's Rachel is now heading towards the enemy blue buff, and they will have Randy Newman backing him up there. Plen just gonna try and shove this wave out so he could potentially come to this potential skirmish. Tien is already on his way, collapsing from the river, but Hastega doesn't have any mana, so he can't really follow up very nicely. Dark Binding has been used. Dr. Sigiwi gonna get caught by the dredge line here. Ilo's Rachel, shockwave off of the 2-man knockup. Ilo's Rachel goes in with the soul shackles. Dr. Sigiwi runs out the side with the phase rush movement speed. He is gonna die, but Plen will flash in for the Featherstorm. Dr. Wildy finishes off Randy Newman as Ilo's Rachel will fall, and Dr. Sigiwi did as well, 2 for 1 in favor of Pooty Tang gang.
I think Ilo's Rachel needs to be banned from entering enemy jungle from this point. In the earlier games, it was her going in alone and dying to the enemy team from overextending. This game, she just says, okay, I'll just bring my team with me. It'll be less trouble, but instead just gets them killed as well. 2 for 1. I think Dr. Sigiwi should have backed up. Instead, he gave Jinx another kill and the reset, so good there. And now Renji has almost kill range. No ult, of course, but is getting Tulsa pretty low. But yeah, that's just rough, as you don't want to be getting this Orianna any stronger. Diana is also really strong. Now pretty much anyone has to be careful of the one-shot from the Diana-Orianna combo. Will be very scary, And Renji's building all armor as well to do well in his 1v1, which is now a
Right.
2v1.
Dr. Weldy showing himself. The rocket belt is going to connect. He lands the Q, gets the ultimate as well. Renji is just going to go down. Dr. Weldy on a rampage after picking up his mythic item.
Ooh, that is super rough for Renji. He's doing well in his 1v1 top, but because he's building full armor, Dr. Wild is just able to come up whenever he wants for almost a free kill. You can see how much damage he does with the rocket belt already finished. And Reign of Kings does have the better comp. I continue to stand by that, but now it's 4 plates for the Fiego. He'll be good in the 1v1, and you need to have something happen.
The Dark Binding has been cleansed away by the ultimate. Flame Chomper's not quite down in time, so not going to be any kills there. They will trade, I don't know, minor cooldowns for the Alistar ultimate, which, you know, is meaningful, but it only benefits you if you can make something happen while that ultimate is down.
Yeah, and now we see a setup around Dragon. This will be a big fight. No TP for Cho'Gath. Viego's starting to walk down. So we'll be fed around there, and I think you do have to give this, unless you would look for catch first.
Yep, charge onto Tien. Dark Binding will miss as Dr. Wilde goes in the back line. There's the stopwatch coming out. It's 2 kills going the way of Reign of Kings, 1 for each of the marksmen.
I really like the decision there. I think if you just go for Dragon immediately, the enemy is just able to collapse around you. You're distracted by Dragon, getting low from it. They ace you, and the game is in a very rough spot from there. Instead, they do a great bush camp, waiting for PTG to come into them like they have in games past, taking advantage of the Dragons, and just able to get a really good turn. They get double shutdown on the 2 very fed members of the Orianna and the Diana. The shutdowns go to Jinx and
Rachel
Lucian.
is just always in the enemy jungle and always dying.
Yeah, definitely banned from entering enemy jungle for I Loves Rachel. At this point, it's kind of expected though, so I'll just go back to talking about what I was, which is that the shutdowns went to both marksmen for Reign of Kings, which is very good to get it off them and get your carries as strong as possible. And get the gold back up to almost within 1,000, plus a dragon to start stacking. Mountain is very good against a comp that's investing heavily into damage and killing you quickly. So a really good turnaround for Reign of Kings with a bit of a blooper at the end by I Loves Rachel.
All right, so maybe we'll see things slow down a little bit. It's about 1,500 gold in favor of Pooty Tang gang. Tulsa is actually about to cash in on that call as well.
Yeah, and we can just kind of see he's now 2 levels up on Renji, has the Bloody of the Ruined King done, so he wins every 1v1 from this point, unless he just gets one-shot by a Cho ult. You can kind of see the damage there. Don't want to be going too far in. So he does have the 1v1, have to be careful from Renji. You can see him starting to get a bit of MR with the null magic as he's looking towards his tank item. Still ways off from the mythic, so Viego should have the advantage for quite a while. As we do see potentially something bot, looks like it's just vision control. Lucian in the area as Morgana's actually going towards Viego in the top side as Alistar might be getting picked bot.
Dark Binding is actually going to connect as he flashes for the Soul Shackles, but he actually didn't keep the tether on, so I Loves Rachel ends up wasting flash there. Tulsa is going to be able to run out the other side. You got to do the preemptive flash if you want that to work, I think.
Yeah, just a bit greedy from I Loves Rachel as well. Lucian coming up might be able to get Tulsa. Rupture does land.
There's the calling. Tulsa is going to flash away. Black Shield is thrown down onto Hastega as they will go in, get the feast of Dark Binding connects onto Dr. Wild. The Shockwave is going to catch Hastega, but a 3-man ultimate. Wildy, Hastega goes down. Tien gonna shield himself up. Dark Binding gonna connect onto him, but they will have enough damage to take down Renji as Isla's Rachel running out to the other side. Featherstorm has been used. Flash Dredge Line onto the target after he comes down, but Plen will flash for the root. Gets the kill onto Randy Newman and just do it. Cannot finish the job on anybody. Dr. Sigurd gets the summoner heal, but he doesn't get the pulverize. And now Plen is gonna get fight on the excited Jinx with the immortal shield bow as well. Just do it's gonna win that one every time. Tien on the way down. Flame Chomper's thrown out, and Tien doesn't have Shockwave and doesn't have a ton of mana to work with. Will give up on that chase.
Yeah, but now Diana's coming down as well. Morgana will end up meeting her, so I don't think you can dive Jinx. That was a bit of a wacky fight bot. I think a bit of poor target selection from Reign of Kings made it to where almost a very big win for Pooty Tang gang, but then Dr. Sigiwi not quite available on his combo. ends up going in, giving Jinx the reset, letting her get it down. Good Romans. Renji, yeah, you can kind of see Tulsa wins these fights kind of hard now with his 2-level lead and no mythic for the Cho'Gath. And in the end, Jinx does come out on top. Now 6-1-2, she's going to be massive. Also opted into the Immortal Shield Blow to deal with all the assassins going on her. Gale Force is, I think, usually the better option, just because it does more for you. The dash also is pretty good against Viego, Diana, and Orianna, but Shield Bow will regardless do its job of trying to keep her alive, so probably fine in that respect.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. Shockwave gonna catch 2 members here as Dr. Wildy's trying to find his way in. Rainy Newman again fails the dredge line onto the wall, and he'll just die.
Yeah, Jinx is also probably going to get dove by Siggy Wiggy. He has his ult up bot, and they know there's no support. And just to be sure, Diana and Orianna are on their way down, so you better run, just do it. And he will actually make it out. I think they could have pushed a bit harder for that.
I think, I don't know. The shield bow, like you said, is really good against these multitude of divers. Dark Fighting in a connection to Dr. Wildy, the Soul Shackles, and the Super Mega Death Rocket, and the Zap. Just do it goes dominating as the jungler of Pooty Tang is caught out for the second time this game. The Dragon coming up in about 20 seconds. It means that Dr. Wildy will have at least a transit time before he can get there. Will Reign of Kings be able to pick this one up in the meantime?
In the meantime, Tulsa does finally knock that top lane tower down. A bunch of plates went down from all the ganks from Dr. Wildy, so he's finally able to finish that off. Now, of course, Renji will have the wave push. Probably back. I don't think he might be able to afford his mythic. I think he can. TP's coming in mid, though, from TN. It does look like a fighter on Dragon. The Cho'Gath is going to join, but without his mythic. And I don't like the state of Reign of Kings right now. They're kind of all split off in whichever way. And Reign almost got caught there. So I might honestly
Tulsa,
look for them to get this, but the fight's going to start.
That depth charge is going to be going down. Tulsa is going to take him very low and actually taken down by the Dark Binding from Ilos Rachel. Renji has arrived and they've already won out on the top laner. Dr. Siggy goes and gets a 2-man knockup. Ilos Rachel, there's no follow-up on that one. Reigning Human is going to get focused down, but the Dark Binding is down. Now Plen is walking forward. Meanwhile, Dr. Siggy is just going to get focused down by Hastega. Shockwave is not going to find anybody, actually. A triple kill for the Xayah, though. It doesn't matter. Plen picking him, equalizing his kills almost with Just Do It, and they will win the team fight handily and secure themselves their second dragon.
Yeah, battle lines not properly established from Reign of Kings. I thought at the beginning it would turn out okay because they got Tulsa, but they used the Nautilus ult on it. Then they kind of split off. Lucian went over onto the left side. He tried to finish off Dr. Siggy Wiggy, but your Lucian's hitting Alistar while Diana Orianna are hitting your Jinx. And I know which one I would rather have dead. They're able to pick him off. Renji still not quite tanky enough yet to fully survive in the enemy team. And that does mean that a fight goes the way of Pooty Tang Gang. They are able to pick up the dragon as well. Ocean Soul starting to stack, and you might have a worse team comp late, but Ocean Soul can do some pretty nasty things.
Yeah, I love Ocean Soul. It's so good. Maybe not in this particular game, but I think Ocean Soul in general is fairly good. I will say, I don't know how I feel about double Immortal Shield Bow on the side of Reign of Kings. I think, like, yes, they have a lot of power in the team fights, but Immortal Shield Bow really significantly cuts down your damage compared to something like Kraken Slayer.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, I'm kind of on a torn mind about it. I just think the Gale Force is so good because there's so many things that you can just dodge. You have Diana going in, which you can get away from. You can dodge the Orianna ball. Meanwhile, they're going for Rift Herald, and the fight's going to break out.
Dr. Sticky Wiggy with a flash pulverize. Ilos Rachel throws in the Soul Shackles. Good dredge line connects onto Dr. Wildy, and he'll go down. Renji is going to go for the Rupture, going to connect it onto Tien. Plen is not doing a whole ton of damage, but he does get the Summoner heal off. Dr. Sticky Wiggy looking for a way back in. Renji, Shockwave is going to find 2 members as Hastega dodges away. Double kill goes his way as Plen is now on the run. Zap to connect to it. Summoner heals for the movement speed. A shutdown goes over, and that is a 4-4-0 in favor of Reign of Kings.
Yeah, really good fight from them. This time they managed to get the proper targeting, managed to just pick off people on the side. Dr. Wildy goes in, but gets hit by the Morgana binding, and the Zanyas manages to keep Ilos Rachel alive long enough to just burn him down with the culling. Really like the decision to go Zanyas here first. Normally you want to go your Mythic, but when everyone's diving on top of you, you can just pop your ult, go into safety, and guaranteed get it off. Then from there, just clean up. The carries were able to do DPS the entire time, the Lucian and Jinx, with no one opposing them, able to go in, avoid the Ori damage, avoid the Xayah, manage to take the fight, and now get the game back to an even gold score.
Yeah, wow. 2 towers just go down right in a row for Reign of Kings thanks to that Rift Herald getting the double. Well, actually, only got one charge off because the first tower died before it charged. But whatever. Uh, yeah, nearly equalizing the gold score. Just Do It is doing a fantastic job on this Jinx and putting out a fair bit of damage. I really wish we could see. Is he getting a lot of value from this Immortal Shield bow? It feels like in the fights that they're winning, he isn't getting focused, and in the fights they're losing, it's just because he's not there. Teleport has been used by Renji. They're trying to get a pick onto Tulsa, but he's already on his way out, and there were a lot of members of Pooty Tang gang already there as well.
Yeah, so they will be able to transition this into just a push bot side. Jinx get mid lane shoved and hopefully back off and catch top wave that's being pushed in. Currently, if you hover it, you can actually see that Immortal Shield Bow has blocked 711 damage from the Jinx, none from Lucian yet, but he hasn't really been in a position to use it since he's had it. So we'll see from there. Tulsa look like going for the Kraken Slayer. That will make him better in 1v1 worse in team fights, because there are two mythics you can kind of go as BO. You can go for the Immortal or the Kraken. Kraken will let him be a lot more effective against Cho, but then you do have to be careful about the Feast one-shot worse in team fights, because you're getting you're against a team comp where you can get blown up super quickly and don't have the extra HP. As might be a bit too far up from Renji as the rest of the team is moving down. Looks like they're gonna find him.
They actually knew he was there. There was a ward. They pretended it wasn't warded, and it was warded. Renji, the threat on the rupture. The calling gonna come out, but Renji is gonna go down. Tien gets himself the killing spree, picking up that kill, and now Tulsa has become the Cho'Gath.
Yeah, that's just not a good spot to be in. You didn't have the team in position sitting on top of the ward. Dragon's coming up in 40 seconds that the Cho'Gath won't be able to join for, as they do give up a bit of positioning from Pooty Tang gang, so might be able to find something from Reign of Kings, but you definitely don't want to throw the game you just clawed back into by taking a poor 4v4 fight, or 4v5 fight.
Yeah. Dark Binding just barely did not connect onto Tulsa there. We'll see Dark Binding again going to be thrown out. Tulsa doing a nice job of sidestepping away from those. Pooty Tang gang, in spite of having... Pooty Tang gang, in spite of moving up towards that mid lane, have managed to claw themselves back into position here. Ilos Rachel going to take a bit of damage. The Shockwave is going to catch onto 2. The Black Shield all saves Ilos Rachel, actually.
Yeah, I almost thought that was going to go worse, but they just barely missed out on the kill. Diana not quite in position to flank. And yeah, now we can see just how big of a pick that was onto Renji. They managed to get the kill, get positioning on Dragon because of it. Reign of Kings can't walk up. I really thought they should have backed off sooner, but fortunately for them, not quite punished for it. And yeah, now it's Soul Point with Ocean Soul for Pooty Tang gang. Not the biggest, because they're kind of a glass cannon comp anyway. The big sustain isn't going to matter as much as it would for Reign of Kings, but it is still a very powerful dragon, and just kind of giving it over for free, I would say, is not a great look for Reign of Kings.
Oh, man. It's about, what, 1,500 gold in favor of Pooty Tang gang as the game starts to slow down. That dragon was kind of the next big point of contention. It's gone the way of Pooty Tang gang. The Baron is on the table, but no team really wants to be the one to start that one off. Kind of scary.
Yeah, you don't want to be clumping up in a pit versus Diana Oriana when both of them are as fed as they are, and you definitely don't want to be starting a Baron without a tank against Double Marksman Morgana comp. So it's going to be a lot about vision. There are more pick tools for Reign of Kings, I would say, but Pooty Tang gang isn't exactly a slouch either.
Well,
and
okay,
we do
they
have
are going to go ahead and start
bot.
it. They saw Tulsa show in the bottom lane, but Tulsa is on his way up here, as well as having the teleport if he needs to be there in a really quick hurry. They are starting it. It's about a half HP. Renji is going to have the feast available, but they're going to back off here because they see the teleport coming in from Tulsa. Looking for an engage. Dr. Siggy Wiggy is just going to force them all back. Dark Binding goes wide for My Love's Rachel.
Yeah, so I think decent attempt or a sneak from Reign of Kings. They saw the enemy didn't really know what was going on. They saw the Viego bot. They get a TP for it, but do lose a bunch of positioning because of it. They were in the area beforehand, but now they're forced back because of low HP bars and having to catch mid-wave. So they traded positioning for TP. If they can get positioning back, it probably works out for them. But if they kind of get caught looking for vision, it will be a lost trade, as now they're really, really split up around it, and Randy Newman's in an
Yeah, a
awkward
lot of
spot and might
vision
get
here.
caught out
Dr.
again.
Zigbee coming in. Black Shield has been used. There's the Viego ultimate. Depth charge is going to come down onto him as he pops in. The knockup goes in, but here's a flash Soul Shackles from Ilos Rachel into that one. Super Mega Tien goes down without having used the Soul Shackles. The Dredge Line going to connect from the stolen Viego. The Diana ultimate kind of come down from going then. Dr. Zigbee boots him back into the pit. Hastega just focusing him
Barely
now,
lived.
and it's going to be a 2-4-5 in favor of Reign of Kings. I did not see how most of that happened. It was so scattered. But at the end of the day, Reign of Kings coming out ahead with both their marksman and the Cho'Gath. That's the perfect set of champions that you need in order to focus down this Baron.
Oh, what a good fight for Reign of Kings. I agreed with you. I thought that things were going poorly at the beginning when the Nautilus got cut out, but Viego spent all of his cooldowns getting to him, and while Tien and Plen were trying to
Oh
get
wow,
caught
they're
up...
actually waiting. They're waiting it for Ilos Rachel to respawn.
Yeah, good play from them. But yeah, I think that I Loves Rachel deserves it, because after a play like that, because what happened is she managed to flash over the wall, get the binding plus double soul shackle onto the carries of Pooty, Tang, nukes Orianna immediately, Jinx, Rocket, and Lucian able to secure the rest of the damage to get the hyper reset. All the cooldowns were blown on the Nautilus, so Jinx able to come in, win the fight from there with all of her damage. Even though she has shield bow and not a more damaging item, I think it came in clutch there, keeps her barely alive at the end of it. Lucian also able to get a bunch done, and just a very well executed fight, gives them the Baron, and gives them the gold lead for, I believe, the first time this series.
Yeah. So now with Baron in their pockets, they do have a little bit of priority, but Ilos Rachel,
Make sure
oh,
not to
Dark
throw
Binding's
it.
down, and I don't think he knows. Tien has snuck in here. Okay, they sniffed something out here for sure. Oh no, they were trying to hand the red buff off to Astega. Thankfully for him. Oh no, headbutt pulverized into Shockwave. Shield bow is going to be popped here, and Astega goes dominating as the Dark Binding is going to connect. Into the backline goes Dr. Weldy, but the stopwatch comes out from Ilos Rachel. Double kill goes over to the Lucian as Tulsa going to get stuck by the Soul Shackles. Cut by the Dark Binding. Renji on the other side, now getting onto Plen. Plen is going to be slowed up. The Rupture is going to connect. He does have the Featherstrom available, but he's just going to get feasted on. 2 kills for 4 in favor of Reign of Kings yet again.
Oh man, that was oh so close. I really like the attempt from Pooty, Tang, catching out in the jungle, looking for the red buff. Stega almost fell for it, but just barely manages to get out. Absorbs the shockwave. Shield bow came in once again. Actually, I think kept him alive once again. Able to get to his team in time. Renji then managed to have flank position behind them and just able to take advantage of it, and just barely missing that opportunity, managed to have the good fight again. The carries are just so fed. You have to get both marksmen, and if one lives, you lose the fight. Both lived, they lost the fight. Well, actually, I take it back, just do it. Did die, gave a reset to Tulsa, but by then it didn't matter. And so they're able to get them in inhib. Now they're going for Dragon. Might have waited a bit too long, though, because now Pooty, Tang are coming off the respawn, and it is Ocean Soul, so this might be a point where you need to rush it and hope that things don't go too poorly.
Yeah, teleport coming in from Tien immediately as they get into the area. Dark Binding going to go wide. They're going to have to disengage this one. Dr. Zigbee looking for a potential Blast Cone into Pulverize, but it's very dangerous because once you go in, oh, Rupture and Dark Binding going to connect. Soul Shackles is only going to catch on to Ilos Rachel, and the Soul Shackles will finish him off. Randy Newman goes in, gets a knockout. Dr. Weldy goes in, but he doesn't get the ultimate proc. Featherstorm has been used, but it's not going to mean anything as Renji's just slowing him. Super Mega Nutthrocket goes out. Plen is running for his life, and it might just be the end of the game as the teleport comes in behind him. I don't think they really care about the Xayah as long as the Xayah isn't able to stop them from ending the game.
Yep, Ocean Dragon be damned, you don't need it. They're just, at this point, I think you can safely say comp diff. You have 10 kill marksmen for both of them. No one on Pooty, Tang can absorb any of that damage from the champions. They're just so far ahead at this point. And when the battle lines are properly set up, they try and go in, just get nuked immediately by double crit and going into a Morgana damage with the Cho'Gath on top to feast anyone. And yeah, just very well won for Reign of Kings to make this a 1-1 series and take us to game point with Silver Scrapes.
Yeah, really nice. I will never knock the Immortal Shield bow this game. All right. We're going to take a short break before we get into our third and final game between Reign of Kings and Pooty Tang. Thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to delivering the final game of the series to you. Internet, hello, and welcome back to our coverage of the Platinum Cup Finals of GRLCS Season 14 and what will be the final game of Season 14 of GRLCS. It is between Pooty Tang and Reign of Kings in the final Game 3. Pooty Tang opted for the blue side, banning away Tristana and Lucian this time. Reign of Kings gonna stick to what they've been doing, banning away Karma and Gangplank. I'm Alex HNA22, and joining me is Sean, General Vici, Walter Meyer, as we get into champion select for game number 3.
Yeah, different bands already. Okay, I like that choice. They get rid of the Vlad. Seraphine is up, but again, I think that Seraphine is a bit less strong in this patch than she was in others. And after game 1, you really do want the hyper carry off the table. And yeah, so because Seraphine's up, Pooty Tang Gang picks it immediately, as both teams had banned it in the previous 2 games. Still kind of confused by the Malphite ban, honestly, because Ornn is pretty good matchup into it, which is what we've seen from a lot of these games. And like, I guess Viego, but I don't think the Viego should be picked again. As we do see the Jinx, I like that choice as well, as we saw what it could do last game. Morgana as well, just keeping the core of a great team fighting comp that brought Reigning King so much success in game number 2.
All right, the team that picked Jinx in the last 2 games won each of them. So Reign of Kings see that, they say, okay, let's get this hyper carry for ourselves. We'll pick up this high priority jungle / support for themselves as well. Pooty Tang gonna go ahead and say they're pretty happy with how the Diana went. They're gonna lock in maybe Viego as well.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I think that last game you tried out like the individual outplay stuff and just got wrecked by a late game hyperscaling team comp, which Reigning Kings are already building towards. You do have Seraphine this time, but I don't think Seraphine a team comp makes. And with Viego locked in again, you're denying her some of the setup, and just making it into more about skirmishes again, and we'll see what Reign of Kings picks up here. I personally think that Lulu could be a pretty good option. Could also go with the Nautilus again to just peel the Jinx, maybe even Thresh, as I know that Randy Newman has played it and done well with it in past games. Lantern pretty good for repositioning away, but it will be the Nautilus for more point and click CC, as well as more reliable all-in potential.
Yeah, I think that the Seraphine does make it a lot better to try and pick these kind of individual outplay champions like you're talking about, because it really does shore up quite a bit of your team fighting power just with AoE shields and the Encore, which is just such a powerful tool. But I think you're right. I think that Diana and Viego are naturally just going to be weaker in team fights, which is what these teams have opted to do. Not as much split pushing. You did see Tulsa go for a little bit of split pushes Viego, but it ultimately did not pan out for them. They're going to ban away the Cho'Gath, so try and take away as many tank options for the top laner of Reign of Kings, as Reign of Kings will reduce their options as far as the marksman goes. Maybe we'll see the Xayah banned off here. No, they're going to take away the Vayne instead. So Xayah is still on the table for Pooty Tang.
Yeah, I think that's an okay choice. We do see the tank starting to get banned out top. Cho'Gath did pretty well, but they did leave up the Ornn, who's now able to be picked away so that Tulsa cannot take it, as he did to good success in game 1. And yeah, I mean, Diana can team fight pretty well if she lands the right angle and ult. Viego, I think, is where my main issue lies, just because you are taking away the chance for a more reliable team fight pick. Can do okay in team fights if you get the right resets, but you have a lot harder time entering it, especially in the kind of targeted CC. And we do see Ezreal hovered and picked up, so that will allow a bit of range and follow up. You can land a charm through the team, then Ezult on top of the Diana for the damage, and that might turn out well. And they might be rounding out with Poppy. This choice I don't like, as I think you need, as Poppy is good as a champ to counter enemy engage, where you're wanting them to run into you. And right now, Reigning Kings are very much content to do the same thing as last game, which was playback and just do better team fighting. So instead, we see the set, which will give you a lot more backline access.
Yeah, wow. We saw the Poppy, the Hover, and then the Kale. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I like that one because you're really low on CC, and they'll instead lock in the set. So yeah, like you said, backline access, although of course can be mitigated by a very good black shield from the Morgana. Now they have to lock in a mid laner here on the side of Reign of Kings. Is it really? It is. It's going to be Annie locked in the mid
Ooh.
lane. Wow.
I actually really like that choice just because of how the team comes to set up. There are basically 5 squishies on Pooty Tang Gang. Set kind of isn't because you'll go Sterix with the Haymaker to make up for it. So that can kind of gives you a bit of durability, but it's kind of a one and done durability. You don't have someone really absorbing things. And if you're all diving into an Annie ult, that's pretty rough. Now, for like a squishy team comp like Pooty Tang Gang has, top lane, they do have advantageous lane with the set. Set does pretty well into Ornn. Mid lane, not sure how it goes, as I haven't seen Annie versus Viego personally. Bot lane, of course, you have Seraphine and Ezreal, so they'll just be playing safe and playing back. So there's, I would say, better team fighting for Pooty Tanging, but I still think Reign of Kings have the better comp.
Yeah, so 3 different players of Pooty Tang Gang have picked Viego in each of these 3 games.
Ooh, that's
Is
pretty fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I tend to agree here. I think Reign of Kings again, much easier to execute comp. Don't need to rely on individual outplays. They're just gonna have a lot more power as a team on the whole. And of course, you do have the hyper carry power of that Jinx that Just Do It had a very good performance on in the last game.
Yeah. Now, I will preface it as I do think that Pooty Tangang's comp is better this time around. They have more tools. You have Diana to set up for a Seraphine ult. Seraphine, of course, a very good champion. You also don't have to go against the Lucian this time, so there's only one hyper carry to worry about. If you can get Jinx down, that's almost all the damage gone from Reign of Kings. There's also less of a damage spread. You do have Jinx as the only real AD threat with triple AP topside. Ornn does a little bit of physical, but it's pretty much like 60-40 in favor of magic, and of course, Annie Morgana are full magic. So there is that to do
That's
a
not
bit
true.
better.
They have auto attacks. Yeah.
Okay, 95% of 5% physical magic, or magic physical for Annie Morgana. So
Yeah.
I do think it's at least a bit better for Pooty Tang, and they might be able to make it happen now with a comp that's not quite so much in Reign of King's favor.
Hmm. I really do just think Seraphine is such an insane champion. They did kind of gut the champion by basically removing the viability of Staff of Flowing Water for her, as well as changing quite significantly the Moonstone Renewer. But the Moonstone Renewer has been buffed, and of course you also have the other option, which might be more valuable in this particular game, of going for the GRLCS. So we'll see how it goes. I quite like I quite like the Seraphine pickup for Pooty Tang Gang.
Yeah, pretty nice pick. I do think that the aforementioned Steph changes and Staff of Flowing Water makes her not quite as amazing as she previously was. We'll see how it goes in this, as there will be fairly full lane control for any Kings, I'd say. You have to be careful against a Nautilus as double ranged. Of course, you can't really deny Ezreal the ability to farm, so it will be. I expect to see a lot of Randy Newman roaming as he was doing during the second game to varying success, I would say.
Yeah, I guess that's really his only option, because what are you gonna do in the bottom lane here? Ezra is going to be playing pretty far back. There's no real need for Dr. Siggy Wiggy to be in any position to get hooked here, and you don't really. And I don't know. It's just it's hard for him to make anything happen bot lane. So got to go for those roams. But Viego is also fairly slippery champion. Uh, you do have the targeted stun from Annie to try and set up for that, and maybe they can make something happen in that regard.
Yeah, there's definitely the option of it, of just running mid, point and click, Nautilus ult, basically point and click any stun to almost always guarantee a kill, though Viego can outplay with his unstoppable if he's very, very good at the timing. Meanwhile, top lane, I do think that PTG will have a lot more options from it than in game number 2, just because you do have Prio on set versus Ornn, and I think a lot of these fights have come down to who's able to get in position first. If you have the roam potential top, you can get there first and look for a fight, because Reign of Kings has sometimes been a bit sloppy about their setups.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see it this game. I always think it's really funny whenever it does whenever it does happen. It's very rare, but when the set ults the Ornn who's like breathing so he doesn't get pulled, and the set kind of just does a flip over his head. It's always
Yeah.
really funny to see.
Also Black Shield, so there's probably actually a pretty decent chance of seeing that this game if the Black Shield is on point. Of course, might want to save it for the Jinx, because Seraphine can hit you, depending on where the fight is, with fairly reliable accuracy. But having Black Shield for the Jinx to make sure she's never too bothered by that is a good thing. A question I do want to ask you, I want to set up about how many times you think I Loves Rachel is going to get caught in enemy jungle this game.
Oh, we're doing that. Let's see. Um, who? I guess depends on lane prio. I really don't know how Annie Viego or matchup. I know the set should win in the 1v1 against Ornn, but will he be able to just like hard shove him in? Regardless, I do expect Ilos Rachel to pretty aggressively go for invades onto Dr. Wildy's side of the jungle. I do think that the Morgana has a lot of power to steal away camps and threaten the Diana, who they're both of them are champions that got buffed in the jungle this in the last couple of patches, but I think the Morgana is going to have a lot more aggressive power, if that makes sense, early on.
Yeah, and there definitely is the potential. It just also hasn't worked out when I Loves Rachel's tried it. As we finally do get into game for the final game of the Plat Finals for Spring 2021 of the GRLCS. One last time for everyone watching. On the blue team, we have Pooty Tang Gang with Tulsa in the top lane on set, Dr. Wildy with Diana in the jungle, Tien taking Viego mid, with Plen and Siggy doing the Ezreal Seraphine bot.
And on the red side, we have Reign of Kings, Renji in the top lane on Ornn, I Loves Rachel in the jungle on Morgana, in the mid lane it's Hastega on Annie, and in the bottom lane it's Just Do It and Rainy Newman on the Jinx and Nautilus respectively. A couple early wards go down across the jungle on the side of Pooty Tangang. They were afraid of the level 1 invade, and rightly so. I think Nautilus, Morgana have a lot of pick potential at level 1.
Yeah, I mean, you can even level up Zap on Jinx. Annie can charge her stun if she wanted to take W. Definitely quite a few options to get a pick. Won't decide to do that kind of cheese from Reign of Kings. Instead, it looks like lane with the Morgana starting top side and Diana starting bot. So we're having different side starts from the jungle again.
I meant to ask you, by the way, after we saw this, have you played any Wild Rift?
I have not.
Did you know that Annie's Q in Wild Rift is a skill shot?
I do know that, or remember it after you mention it, that I heard that was a thing, which I find kind of weird, because I would think that on Wild Rift you would actually want less skill shots, just because of how it works.
Yeah, it's interesting, but what that means is that you can actually charge your stun at level 1 with Q now, with Annie
Ooh.
on Wild Rift. That's just something that I noted because you said maybe he took W at level 1 to charge a stun. He didn't. He's just gonna get a few auto attacks to get the electrocute proc onto Tien after stunning him with the Q. Just a fun little thing that is a thing. In any case.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we do see Renji doing an okay job early on into the set. For the early level, now of course starting to fall behind just because of natural regen and set's ability to just do a lot of damage in the long extended fights. Ornn can get short burst trades, but you don't want to be sitting there getting punched in the face. I think as any champion, of course. As something else that's different from game 2 is, well,
Wow,
apparently it's hot game.
What? Okay, gets the Dark Binding off after Tulsa flash for the stun, and Renji will not actually... Yes, he will. Flash auto from Renji will get first blood for Reign of Kings, but wow, that was so dangerous by Ilos Rachel. Level 2 in the middle of a huge minion wave, just comes in, goes for the... and tries to go for a level 2 gank off there. I'm so surprised that that did not go worse for Reign of Kings.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell by my reaction, I was not ready for that to happen. Morgana, not typically a jungler you expect to do level 2, and just level 2 ganks in general are not really a thing right now because of power clearing meta in the jungle. You don't want to fall behind on camps because there's no catch-up XP anymore. And yeah, I also thought that was going to turn into an absolute disaster with how low she was. Forced to flash out, Renji does manage to make it happen and get the kill, so I guess technically worth, but it also leaves top in a pretty rough spot where Tulsa's now able to set up a freeze. Renji forced to back up his low HP bar. Don't want to TP back because Diana started bot and will end on top, as you can see now, and Renji might expose himself to her anyway. And that might just invalidate the whole thing, as you can kind of see now. He's going in for a ward, but doesn't realize that Diana's already behind him.
Yeah, okay. This is potentially a really bad situation as Renji, like you said, he has no flash. Tulsa is already very low, and Renji's trying to run out the other side, maybe just trying to deny an assist. Tulsa pretty low, so he can't continue the chase, and they'll try and leave it for Dr. Wildy to pick up. But I think
I
Renji
think he
might
might get
actually
an
just be able to...
execute.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look like he's going for it. He might
Oh, he's
TP
going for
back to
teleport!
tower.
Yeah, Dr. Weldy actually has no CC pre-6 in order to stop that, so I guess that's not a death, but it is his teleport and a recall, so still quite a big advantage gain for Pooty Tang Gang.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk back top after this mid gank. Doesn't look like anything will happen. Okay, so yeah, he manages to get out, TPs to tower, but the wave is still kind of frozen against him. He TP'd to his top tower
Isla
instead
Rachel,
of
like
like
you were
in
talking
base.
about, is going to be found in the Raptor pit. He's going to have the Black Shield wear off. The exhaust has been used. Going to get stunned up as Tien will come in, and Dr. Wildy comes in to finish the job. Jumping in onto Hastega, he'll stun him up, and there's number 1 for Ilos Rachel.
Yeah, I won't technically count it because wasn't in their jungle per se, just getting vision around it. But yeah, now finally Renji can get some CS. You can see it at 37 to 7, 30 CS down at 5 minutes is super duper rough. We'll pick up a bit. I anticipate him to get up to like 15 to 20 with this wave, depending on how well he last hits under tower. So yeah, I mean, that level 2 gank got a kill, but in the end, you can kind of see the gold's even, and there is a massive CS lead for Tulsa now on the set, while also setting Morgana behind in the jungle.
Yeah, the after effects do not work out for Pooty Tang Gang, or sorry, for Reign of Kings off of that quote-unquote successful gank there. But we'll see. Maybe a moral victory is enough, and maybe it would have been worse had that gank not happened. Who knows? But uh, fairly big wave actually stacked up for Just Do It. He'll find himself quite a bit ahead as he cleans that one up.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, yeah, Renji's just kind of getting beaten on. Something else I just noticed, Just Do It actually has Fleet Folk in the bot lane. Doubt anything too big comes of this hook, though maybe a bit more damage.
Just a double root onto Just Do It. Oh, hold
And a
on a second. There's
TP.
a teleport coming in. The Flame Choppers are going to be consumed immediately. He flashes away. Here's the Black Shield. Tien does not land the stun. Dark, looking for the Dredge line as well as the Dark Binding, but do not connect either, as Dr. Wildy did show up as well. Tulsa now going to go for the pull onto Renji. They're trading back and forth. Yeah, he does have 6, but doesn't really want to go for the showstopper into the tower, I don't think.
Yeah, but it is getting a bit risky because I do think Renji is getting close to one-shot range. Set's pretty good at tower dives with the Haymaker. Does look like he's going to back up, but because Renji's low, has no TP to go back to base, Set is in a very good spot to keep pressure up in this lane. We'll take it mid. On the bot play, did see a pretty deep TP from Tien to look for it. Wasn't able to actually get a kill, but did burn the Jinx and Nautilus Flash. So slight advantage there. Not like Seraphine Ezreal is the best champs to take advantage of it. And going back to the point that I started all the way back before that happened, is Just Do It went for the fleet footwork again. We saw this on the Caitlyn game for game 1, that he went that into the Conqueror Jinx and Pen was fine into it. This time he went it again into Ezreal Seraphine, which isn't the most aggressive lane, so I do kind of question that to not take a better late game / team fighting keystone.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Fleet Footwork has kind of just fallen out of fashion for AD carries and for a good reason. Now, Renji gonna go in. Oh, the showstopper. There it is! The first time he flips over Renji's head, but I think he's still gonna get this kill. Renji does have flash, but Tulsa can flash to follow. Tulsa is just
Morgana's
gonna continue
coming
autoing,
now.
here comes Ilos Rachel. Oh, he flashes over the Dark Binding, but the Call of the Fortune God comes out. Here, he's gonna throw the ram back in onto Tulsa. Ilos Rachel still only level 5. There's the Haymaker, Ignite from Randy Newman. It's a 3v1, and it will be Randy Newman picking up the kill with the Ignite.
Wow, that was quite the event that Tulsa found himself in. Hastega almost certainly won't die here, but Randy Newman might make sure that Tien does.
Charge is going to come out. He's already used the ultimate, and now Hastega does have Tibbers available, but doesn't get in range to drop it. Dragon goes the way of Pooty Tang as Dr. Wildy takes advantage of his knowledge of where the enemy support and jungler were. Ilos Rachel going to steal away his blue buff in response.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a wild series of events Tulsa found himself in. Look for the all-in on Renji. He used his Searing Charge aggressively, but screw that because Randy Newman's getting caught.
Into them. Dr. Siggy Wiggy does get a double root off. Nice sidestep from the Seraphine, as Dr. Wildy will just pick up a quick kill for himself.
And they might be able to dive the Jinx here if Jinx takes too long around without the jungler in the area. But yeah, Tulsa top lane, he got into a kerfuffle where 3 people roamed up and he still almost got away with 2 kills. Now we're getting back to the rest of the game as a wave is crashing and Jinx has a hard time farming it because she knows Diana's in the area. Now I Love's Rachel is going into a fight again, but I think Tien's the one in trouble.
Tibbers dropped onto Tien, and Tien has no ultimate available. I Love's Rachel will be able to pick up an easy kill with the assistance of mid laner Hastega. Now they're going to come in. The dragon has already gone down, so just clearing out some vision and forcing them back and allowing just do it to get some time to farm up that wave.
Yeah, good pick on the binding, waiting just as Tien was looking for the roam, potentially towards bot. I Love's Rachel in a good position with the binding, and Tien had already used his ult and flash when Nautilus had come earlier. So just at the mercy of the Annie Morgana combo with all that lovely and beautiful CC to pick him up for the kill. I Love's Rachel does take it, so Annie probably would be the better benefactor of it, but good kill nonetheless. And I am kind of curious. I don't know what builds Annie has been going for. It does look like she's going for, I believe, the Everfrost, but I could also see an argument for Proto Belt Annie. Do you have any more knowledge on what she might take?
I think I've seen more frequently the Proto Belt or Rocket Belt Annie. This actually could also be going towards the Luden's Echo, which I think is significantly less likely. But it does add a lot of burst to your combo while also giving you mana sustain, which is the benefit of going Ludens over something like Rocket Belt, which doesn't give you near as much or any mana actually.
Yeah, I do think that Annie's one of the mids more able to take it just because her Q refunds mana if you last hit with it. Meanwhile, we do see Diana top, but Renji actually has a pretty nice ward in the lane bush to prevent that from being a thing.
Oh, that's a really good from Ilos Rachel. Soul Shackles and the Encore have been used, but he's caught and he's just CC'd for so long. Plen finally goes down, but again, Randy Newman is unfortunately the one who picks it up. Tulsa looking for a potential dive onto Renji as the Call of the Fort God has already been used. Really nicely done by Ilos Rachel, having a very good impact on this game.
That was a sick binding between minions, as we do see the Diana gang not getting anything done top. That means that Jinx is now alone with the tower and every single bit of the plates and farm that come with it. Diana will be able to pick up the Rift Turtle on the other side, which she could use top, as Renji is kind of low. And I do think that a dive is very, very possible on him if they want to go that route. Doesn't look like they'll make it in time for the best dive setup, so he should be safe there. And it will be just a really good advantage picked up bot side for Reign of Kings.
Yeah, the Rift Herald was secured for Dr. Wildy. He's taking his Empowered Recall now. Will pick up the Rocket Belt for himself. And things will be slowing down a little bit potentially for a while now. About 700 gold in favor of Reign of Kings. So a really nice lead for them in what I would say is a fairly good scaling team comp by comparison. I think the orange scales really well. It's going to be a hyper tank for you. Of course, you got the Jinx. And Morgana, Annie, they're not any slouches when it comes to late game power.
Yeah, I think the only real chance late game that Pooty Tang Gang has is if Set manages to get Ornn on top of the Jinx with a Haymaker and Encore, or maybe not Encore, the big Seraphine charm that's kind of dumb.
Oh, Encore.
If it does land, I think that's where the
Oh,
Lake King's power...
teleport coming in from behind versus Renji! And they're trying to throw it on the Herald, but here comes the Call of the Forge God available for Renji. No, it's not! He doesn't have his ultimate! He's just snuck behind! Draxline gonna connect onto Plen. The Super Mega Target goes in, it doesn't
Another
do too much
TPs.
damage. Renji forcing the flash out. Dr. Siggy gonna cut him in. There's a showstopper, pulls in Randy Newman, and they're gonna get the vacuum wave from Dr. Wily as well. Astega comes
Astega's here.
for some damage on this Dr. Siggy. He can't finish the job. Summoner Hill comes out. It's gonna be 1-0. Only one person died in that whole situation. Ilos Rachel not showing up to the party.
Wow, that was an attempt at a fight start from Reign of Kings, but the double TP is also up from Pooty Tang gang, and one side has ults and the other one doesn't. One side had to overextend to look for the kills, the other side didn't. Herald goes down, that kill is going to mean the dragon going. Could have been worse for Reign of Kings, slight blessing to them that they only lost Randy Newman for it. Despite how bad a position I think they found themselves. And yeah, I like the attempt at the play, but as has kind of happened often, Reign of Kings just a bit off on the execution and get punished for it.
Yeah, wow. That teleport very early from Renji, I thought this was going to be such an insane play, but he didn't have the ult! He didn't have Call of the Forge God. So that significantly reduces the effectiveness in a lot of those team fights, especially when it's like straight in a lane and you don't have anything to knock up off of with your Ornn E.
Yeah, I mean, if the enemy team doesn't have TPs to follow up, that still works out, but because they did, it goes poorly. I don't think Randy Newman got the depth charge off either, or it just came off cooldown quicker than I think it would. And so, yeah, that does mean they go down. Of course, still only 800 gold behind. The two dragons can be concerning if the next one goes the way of Pooty Tanging, but I think by that point, Reign of Kings will be strong enough to be able to put up a fight for it. So not the worst outcome in the world for Reign of Kings, but it is another play they made that goes wrong.
Just do it, once again opting for the Immortal Shield Bow on this Jinx. I definitely think that, you know, that makes sense in this particular game. The Gale Force may be also an option here, but I definitely think Kraken Slayer is something you don't need, so you can opt for a little bit more comfort with the Shield Bow Shield or the dash from the Gale Force. Renji trading in onto Tulsa is going to get yoinked back in by the thing, and the ultimate is going to be used. Showstopper pulls Renji in and takes a couple tower shots, but he hasn't gone down yet. Meanwhile, Randy Newman going to get caught by the Encore. Nicely sidestepped by Just Do It, but they will lose their support. Black Shield nicely and nullifies the ultimate from the Diana.
Yeah, and yeah, that's just another pick though onto Randy Newman. Another advantage for Pooty Tang gang. Meanwhile, Renji also starting to fall behind the top lane. Good attempt at a flash ult from Tulsa. Doesn't quite get the kill, but gives him a lot of lane pressure. Flashes down, of course, so that makes him a bit more vulnerable later. But Renji has to be careful because of it. And yeah, just another attempt. Another bit too far forward, and he used Haymaker. I think Renji could actually ult him, but meanwhile, Morgana in the bot lane.
Rachel looking for the Dark Binding. He's not going to find it. Plen actually comes forward. Renji goes for the Call of the Forge God. He's going to look to auto on it.
is coming.
Out of there, and Dr. Wildy is on his way up. You've also got
And
Tang
Viego.
the backside. They're 100% looking for the dive. Dr. Wildy goes on a rampage as he flashes for the Q dash. And then
yeah, I think Renji just waited a bit too long to look for the counter ult if he was going to do it. You kind of have to do it as soon as the Haymaker goes out, and instead Diana and Viego managed to walk up. A bit of a waste from Dr. Wildy to flash there. Tien was already in the area, so it's not like Renji was going to get away. So better to save the cooldown. They do manage to get the pressure top. Won't get tower though. Bot tower looks like it's going down, and now TTG has their bot lane coming into a potential trap.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, they got the sweeper going up. Wow, they knew! Dark Binding is going to be sidestepped away by Dr. Siggy. Arcane shifted away from by Plen. Really nicely done to snip that one out. They will just end up giving up over that tower in exchange for the one top lane.
Yeah, and they do get first tower gold from it. I think the only real difference is the mid wave that went down with no one to collect it for Reign of Kings. And we will be seeing both kind of resetting. Ornn getting back top lane, of course. He's working towards his mythic, but still a good distance away. Blade the Ruin King, actually, for Tulsa, already done. That's the more 1v1 option, as we've seen he likes to do. Stride Breaker, of course, after that, because Stride Breaker is a silly item that works very well with Set's kit. And on the other side, it is the Ludens for Annie, so you were right when talking about that earlier. Bork is done for Viego, but I think that Annie's Power Spike kind of exceeds his. In the bot lane, Jinx is 1.5 items, and up farm, so good against Ezra, but here's Randy Newman getting caught.
Randy Newman, he's gonna get pulled in by, get his head smashed in. What is it called? Face breaker. That's what it's called. I couldn't remember the name of that ability. I just know you smash your people's heads together. Now Tulsa looking for something onto Renji potentially with the showstopper onto the back line. Dr. Wildly just looking over the side. Ilo's Rachel gonna get jumped on here. Dark Binding goes wide as the Black Shield is on cooldown now. Looking for a stun. Flash Encore under 3 is really good there. Coming up from Dr. Sticky. We can just do it. Immediately dies. Renji gets pulled in with the showstopper. Hastega is exhausted. Can't do any damage and is gonna get focused down. One more auto attack will finish the jump up. Plen flashes for it. It's gonna be 2 kills to 0 in favor of Reign of Kings.
Oh, that was a beautiful.
Sorry.
That was a beautiful engage from Dr. Siggy. We managed to do the Encore Flash, even to land the 3-man right into the Diana full combo, sets in the area as well to clean up with the rest of his damage. And yeah, we were talking about Randy Kings' team fight. I think it's a bit easier to pull off, but when Pooty Tang Gang managed to make it work, managed to land their combos and get the force, their comp is just as good at team fighting. They managed to land the Wombo, they managed to get Soul Point on the Dragon, managed to get mid tower and a 4K gold lead.
Wow, that was quite something to see. I really liked that. I didn't know you could Encore Flash like that. A lot of I know that there's a lot of abilities that you can use them and then flash to change where they come out. I didn't know Encore was one of them, because like a lot of abilities nowadays kind of lock you out of flashing while you're in the animation of it. But that was great from Dr. Sugawiki. You know, a lot of props.
Yeah, and that definitely is a moment that gets them a very, very good position in this game. With being 4K up ahead, they can make those engages work. Soul Point puts a pretty big timer on Randy Kings as well on how they approach these fights. They pretty much have one more chance, because last game they are combo so much that I think even with Ocean Soul it's hard. This time I think the comps are close enough that Ocean Soul might swing those couple of critical resets for Jinx, makes it harder for Annie to just one-shot someone with her combo. And yeah, I mean, just the approach of the fight, as Randy Newman, is he getting caught out again?
Yeah, Locket of the Iron Solari has been popped, Depth Charge and Dredge Line have been used. They do get the stun from long range, and Dr. Sigui actually gets the kill. Ilos Rachel flashes for the Soul Shackles in there with his Hourglass, just do it. Flashing away from the Call of the Forge God, does get caught by the Encore. There's the Face Breaker coming out from Tulsa. He's trying to finish off Just Do It, but the Mortal Shield Bow is propped, and Shutdown goes over as he gets excited. True Shot Barrage goes down the lane, and it's going to be a 1-for-2 in favor of Pooty Tang Gang once again.
Yeah, and we're seeing that was basically, yeah, that was a 1-for-2, but I do think that you saw the look a lot better from Pooty Tang Gang. Randy Newman gets caught out immediately. Jinx did a very good job surviving all that, but does use Flash, which is really, really big for the next fight, and it's not like you get anything from that one as Randy King, so the Jinx Flash just doesn't work out. Really nice return kill. I think that a bit too hyped from Tulsa going for a fight after it was already pretty much over in their favor. And that was without Ezreal even there, that Pooty Tang Gang won that. At least I didn't see him there. They basically just won it off of being able to get the jump off Randy Newman and then no real combo from the rest of Reign of Kings.
Oh man. How long do we have until the next dragon? I'm so concerned for that. It's about 2.5 minutes before Ocean Dragon comes up. Baron is on the table. So we might see them fight for that before the next dragon comes up. It'll be very scary, though, for Reign of Kings now that they know just how quickly their entire team can get destroyed by Pooty Tang Gang.
Yeah, and definitely the biggest one to watch for is the Diana, but you also can't ignore Set and Via getting to the back line. Fortunately, Ornn does have his done.
He's gonna face check in onto Randy Newman. He's gonna get caught by the Depth Charge, caught by the Dredge Line, slowed up. Ignite goes down. He flashes away from the Tibbers. And Dr. Siggy looks like he is very close to dying, but Tibbers doesn't have the move speed necessary to catch up to him. So Tibbers is down, Depth Charge is down, Super Mega Death Rocket is down, and it's just a flash burn by Dr. Siggy. So
yeah, I mean, well, yeah,
it is a flash, of course, but maybe something can happen while these ultimates are not available.
Yeah, of course, we'll be up in time for Ocean Dragon, thankfully. Meanwhile, Siggy Wiggy was pushing, or I'm sorry, Tulsa was pushing top lane, had Herald. I don't think that Reigning Kings realize that, so they leave him alone in time to get the tower. Now 1 minute coming up on Drag, and there is vision control
Oh, Dr.
for as
Wily
Dr. Wily might be
rocket
looking.
belting forward. I get so nervous when you rocket belt forward because rocket belt, it gives you like a ton of movement speed when you're running towards enemy champions immediately after using it. So it's a really good for a champion like Diana to be able to close the gap a little bit just so you can land the Q and then use your real dash.
Yeah, and now Pooty Tang are the ones with control of the Dragon Pit with the depth charge and Annual down with the chunk onto it and people not in position. They do manage to get the control. I don't like the angle that Reign of Kings is taking here. I think you have to go through River. You cannot go through choke points into Seraphine Diana. As now a double root's going to land. Don't look for it more, but they're just not in a good position to advance into this Dragon Pit.
Yeah, Renji is going to try and escort them in there through using his big Orn body, but Tulsa is there, and he does have Showstopper available if he wants to cancel him out. Dark Binding is going to come out. Renji going to come in. Tulsa uses the Face Breaker. Renji going to go for the Call of the Forge. Got a lot of damage coming down in the backline. Dr. Wily is trying to assassinate Just Do It, but he gets a big Locket Shield. He gets the Shield Bow Shield. Can he finish him up? Yes, he can, because Tien is here to help him out. Randy Newman now exhausted. On the other side of the fight, it looks like Pooty Tang has already won it out. And Renji now just flashing away to safety. It's going to be 4-for-1 in favor of Pooty Tang, and they're going to pick themselves up Ocean Soul.
That was, I think, the worst possible angle Reign of Kings could have gone through. They were so split off. Just Do It off on the side around the wall with no one else in the area. You had 3 frontliners there with no DPS to back it up. Dr. Wildly just able to ult in, get onto the Jinx, even with Randy Newman flashing back over to try and peel his carry. Diana is 605. She is just too strong for Jinx to deal with, even though she's 2 items. Doesn't have damage because she went Rapid Fire Cannon Shield Bow. That's good for staying safe, not good for killing a Diana when she's already on top of you. And so with that gone, no DPS, they're able to pick up the fight 4-for-1. Renji only survives by flashing. With everyone dead, they're able to get the Ocean Soul transition right over. Oh my gosh, thought they got
that was
the
so
Baron.
close.
Yeah, thought Just Do It got the Baron, but they managed to pick up that too. Now they're 8.5k in the lead, and Pooty Tang have just gotten full control over the game.
Yeah, and honestly, now that the Ocean Soul has been secured, Pooty Tang had to mess up really majorly in order to lose fights.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely adds them a lot of cushion to what they can do. Of course, they are still swishy champs, so not the biggest deal, especially once Jinx starts getting a few more items
actually,
to really
Tulsa
start.
Behind, looking for a potential play in STN. Actually, also teleported behind. Renji gonna go forward. Flame Choppers are gonna stop the advance as Tulsa looking for a potential showstopper to get the tank into the middle of his own team. They won't go for it.
Yeah, so they do get TP for free, but Island's Ritual has to be careful. Does have Black Shield. But that's a lot of damage, as you can see from the set. Just basically a couple autos gets the Morgana down to half, and that's kind of the gold lead at work. As now the push is coming mid, split up once again for Reign of Kings, and they are now dealing with Baron Siege with not many great tools to stop it.
Oh yeah, Tulsa is just hanging out between lanes, making sure that Isla's Rachel can't join the team. But here we go, Dark Binding and Soul Shackles. Tulsa flashes. He can't break the tether. He's gonna face breaker him in. Zanya's Hourglass has been used, and he goes for the showstopper into the backline. Encore over the wall. So good! And the Call of the Forge God is used, but it's not going to be able to save anybody. Tien goes unstoppable as he absorbs the Annie abilities. Gonna jump back over the wall, looking for Just Do It, but all the rest of his team is dead. Tulsa the only one dead on the side of Pooty Tang.
Yeah, I think that might just be game. Beautiful encore from Sigiwi over the wall. They just took so long to kill Tulsa. They don't have the damage. Last game they had double crit marksman. This time it's just the Jinx, and she is not far ahead enough to be going with this kind of defensive build when you need her to be killing people. Now they're on the Nexus towers. One down, the next falling for Pooty Tang. Nexus is going to be exposed if people come up. Just Do It flashes away.
Randy Newman dredge lines in, but the Nexus is the focus for the AD champions on the side of Pooty Tang. They will take it 2-1 over Reign of Kings, and they are your Platinum Cap champions.
Yeah, really nice win from them. They had a misstep in game 2, didn't draft quite right, but this game they managed to get a draft that was better. They were able to play to their strengths individually, just some great individual plays overall. Reign of Kings weren't able to team fight as cleanly. They didn't get their carries far enough ahead, and in the end, a great win for Pooty Tang, who will take the series in order to become your Plat Cap champions of Spring 2021.
Yeah, really nicely done by Pooty Tang. I'm not sure if Austin has anything else planned for the rest of the stream, but that's probably going to be it for Sean and myself. So I've been Alex Agent 822. This has been Sean General Vici Waltermeyer. We've really enjoyed giving you this excellent 3-game series to round off Platinum Cap Finals. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.